Stone whispers patience, but we take chisel in hand. Child begs, not yet, but the sands have run out. Sky cries, fly, but we hold our ground. Wind sings, free, but roots bind us down. Lover sighs, stay, but we must be gone. Life pleads, live, but death is the dream. We beg, not yet, but the sands have run out. Stone whispers patience.
Hello and welcome to Legendarium Green Team's Malazan series and the third episode of the Crippled God. My pseudonym is Hurinfan and I am joined today by Panda,
Hello.
Ashaman,
Hi, everybody.
and Janath.
Hello.
Before we start, is there anything you would like to share?
I got my nails done.
I
Can we
got
see
my
them?
hair cut and my beard trimmed.
They look wonderful.
Thank you. You look great, Janath.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, the beard trim is quite nice.
Yes.
Mhm.
And the mustache trim. All of it.
Yeah, it was
All of
very
it.
much Mountain Man before.
Yes.
Yeah, there was like 4 months without a haircut or something.
I think next month I'm gonna shave my beard and then record my son's reaction. I hope it's a good one.
Does he recognize faces now?
Well, he's almost 7 months, and that's about the time that babies start to.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm trying to think of
Did you
something
also get a
positive, but
beard trim, Ash?
Did I?
I don't know.
Every 3 weeks or so, I just take a shave, and then
Take a
I'm just
shave.
grungy for the rest. Yeah.
I only got
Very
negative
exciting
stuff.
thing.
I'm still sick.
Still sick.
You.
Summer's almost over. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's always nice.
Yeah.
I look forward to fall.
We have a trampoline. Fall's gonna be great.
Ooh.
Oh, so I've been helping my dad with his house, build his house.
Mhm.
The
Handyman.
part where we have to shovel gravel, I think, is over. I
Yeah.
might never have to shovel gravel at his house again. And let me tell you, shoveling gravel is the worst job. I hate it so much. Respect to anybody who shovels gravel for a living.
I like to shovel snow.
That's different.
Shoveling dirt is excellent. Shoveling snow is fine, unless it's like really wet snow. Shoveling gravel, horrible, horrible. It's heavier and it's harder to scoop.
I started painting my War of the Ring figures.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nerd.
Yeah.
I need to get back to miniature painting. It's been a long time.
Don't start with those. They're the worst quality plastic ever. There's so many horror stories on the internet of them coming out sticky, or like you think they didn't come out sticky, so you finish the paint job on them and then they're still not sticky, but then 2 weeks later they're sticky. Like it's just insane. They're just
Yeah.
a nightmare.
You know what I read when I need a break from Malazan?
Red Wall.
More Malazan.
I did read Redwall, but that was because I needed to do it for the Legendarium podcast. I read the Boxcar Children.
Oh my god.
Wow.
I don't know what that is.
Really?
Here, it is one of my all-time favorite like children's book series. It's like chapter books, and it's about 4 kids who are orphaned, and they find this boxcar, and that's the first book. It sets them all up, and then for the rest of the series, they solve mysteries. So they're little detectives.
Yeah, it's in like a similar vein to Nancy
Like,
Drew or Magic
yeah.
Treehouse. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys, but for younger kids, and it's very wholesome. I love them. Some of them are a bit dated, but anyway, I could go on and on. I bet I could somehow tie it to Malazan.
Think hard. I would love to hear that. Later on today, I'm starting a series of unfortunate events for the first time. Looking forward to that.
Oh, there's a good one.
Oh, I couldn't read that.
Oh, why?
Because I don't like unfortunate events.
Yeah, it's just a series of them. It is quite depressing. Just never catch a
Just
break.
the first book with the stupid uncle. And, ugh.
It gets
I watched
worse.
most of the first 2 seasons, and I quite liked it.
Oh, I haven't watched the show.
Let's do Malazan.
Let's do Malazan.
Yeah.
Shall we start with chapter 14?
What else would we start with?
Well,
No.
we could work backwards, but
Oh, yeah, let's start with 14.
okay. Chapter 14. Kalava watches Kettlehouse die. Mappo is saved from the shards by Badal. Silchus Ruin parts ways with Rudalal. The unbound Tlanimas recruit 2 new members. The Bone Hunters find some lost children.
You know, something going into this series that I was just not expecting, how much journeying there is.
I know.
And
So
I normally and I think part of it is what bogs it down is just like they are just trying to get to somewhere, and then when they get there they turn around and go back from whence they came. And they're just like, "Ugh, what was the point?" I mean, I know what the point was, but at the same time, it's like there's just a lot of in progress.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
I think that's
think
the genre.
military.
Not military,
Um,
just epic
Just
fantasy.
epic fantasy in
That's
general.
That's Lord of the Rings. That's The Hobbit. That's almost everything that comes after Lord of the Rings.
I
Yep.
think epic fantasy has taken
Uh,
a big turn away from journeys in the past years. Right? Like it's a big part of like early Wheel of Time, but later Wheel of Time's like almost none of it, right? And same for something like Stormlight. There's not like a lot of walking in that.
Mm.
There is some, but like it's not. I think it's a big departure from Lord of the Rings, which is like yes, just walking.
I think you just described part of the reasons why I don't like the later Wheel of Time books.
Therapy
Yeah,
with
maybe.
Ashaman.
Well, like when you put so much emphasis at the beginning of the story on like how important like logistics are, and like it takes a realistic time for one thing to get to another, and then you just throw that out the window with new magic. I don't know. It just kind I don't know, loses a lot of it. It's the same problem with Star Trek Discovery. Ugh. It's like they
Yeah.
could literally teleport anywhere they want at any point. There's no point in doing most of the stuff that they have to, and like this
There's not
isn't
much
Star
reason to
Trek.
trek amongst the stars, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing here is that in this world there is magic, and the Warrens are a mode of transportation. But Erikson makes it so that it's not readily accessible, and like they can't use it willy-nilly, especially in Dust of Dreams and the Crippled God, where literally like there is no magic in this. Well, that's not quite true, but like it's barren. They cannot access the Warrens. So
One of my favorite segments in Return of the Crimson Guard involves an entire army, or at least like a large group of soldiers being transported through the Warrens, and
I love that part.
it really shows you why it doesn't happen in the Book of the Fall. It's
Yep.
oh really?
it's rough. It's really well done.
Okay,
And the sacrifice it takes to do so is really satisfying.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. Blood and Bone, I think, has my favorite walking sections in Malazan.
See,
But
it drove me crazy in Blood and Bone. It was just like so much of it, and I didn't really understand like a lot of like where everything was, and like it was like
oh,
the it
yeah.
was like the Tyson told the hounds. Like
I'm referring specifically to the march of the one army and the guy writing notes back to his superiors. But
that was funny. That was
yeah.
really funny. I like that.
Yeah, for the Book of the Fallen, I was the first time I read the series, I was actually quite worried that they were just gonna not have travel times be a thing, because like you immediately start out with traveling through warrens and be like, okay, we have this warren now, we can travel pretty quickly, basically anywhere we want. And then he also has the quarrels, and the quarrels obviously like they're not really even a part of the series after Memories of Ice.
No.
They're hardly in it before then. And yeah, warren travel is just absolutely messed up. So yeah, walking is a big part of it, and I like it.
Speaking of it being absolutely messed up, the Imperial Warren also bit. I know you get a little bit of why it's not used more in Book of the Fallen, but Ice does a lot of that and shows
Hmm.
why that doesn't happen, and the consequences of using it too much. It's really good stuff.
For specifically the trek across the glass desert, I really like this one. I think it's my favorite of their walks across desert parts.
How
Probably.
many This probably definitely has the most walks across deserts per series, I think, more than any
Yeah.
other series.
Yeah. You would think that they would eventually stop entering deserts, but
Even more than Dune.
Um, I don't know if it's my favorite, but my favorite might be in Deadhouse Gates, but um, I also hated that in Deadhouse Gates the first time I read it, and this was the one that I liked the most right away. Like the first
Okay.
time I read it, I liked it. Whereas like the first time through Deadhouse Gates, I was like, "This is miserable. I hate it. Why am I reading this? I want to claw my face off."
I think this one is the one that marries theme with plot the most effectively, right? Like it
I
it
agree.
really feels like a grind for the Bone Hunters here. Like I absolutely believe that they're like almost all dead by the end of this, right?
Well,
We also
yeah.
get 2 if you count the snake.
Yeah, the snake is, I think, a somewhat less effective, but I'm, I'm a snake apologist generally, so.
They need no apology.
Oh,
They're children.
yeah. You think the
Uh,
readers care? No.
Well, but Baldal's saying, "I know you don't care. Feel
Yes.
bad for it.
The
I'm gonna
if
make you
only
read this."
she should have had some scenes where she's just like beating up a four-curl sail every couple of paragraphs. Then people would care about the snake.
Hey, that poetry battle was awesome.
It was.
It was a good poetry battle.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Gonna have to play the Dell in the next D&D or RPG game I play. Just be a
Nice.
child that runs around reciting poetry.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do.
Yeah, no, I actually don't have enough skills as a poet to do it. If Whitney ever finishes the Crippled God, maybe she'll do it.
I would like to see that. Yeah.
We done with the trekking.
I
So
mean,
much trek.
no, but we can move on to other things. You want to move on to children?
Children are dying.
So there was a section where it says, "Our children, see what we have done to them. Our mothers and fathers left us to this, and now we leave them too in our turn. There is no end to the generations of the foolish, one after another, and at some point we all started nodding, thinking this is how it has to be. And so we don't even try to change things. All we pass down to our children is the same stupid grin." And honestly, like, now I'm at an age where I've been at an age where I'm expected to have children, but I struggle with this. It's like, do I actually want to have children and bring them into this society where, there's a lot of conflict? And I mean, I'm not going to say like everything is terrible, everything is horrible, it's the worst that it's ever been, because it's not. Um, but there are a lot of things that, I'm just like, if I don't want to live through it, like, why would I want to put somebody else through it? And some things are just going to get worse over time. Um,
I struggled
and
with that for years. I
yeah,
still struggle with that after the fact.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like,
It's something I think about all the time.
So here's the thing though. Uh if you want it to ever get better, um ethical people not having children is not a way towards that goal. Because the unethical people are not concerned about these questions. They're going to have children. So,
yeah.
You got to outbreed them.
But here's the thing, is like it's not like there's a lack of people on this planet, and there are plenty of kids who don't have parents. And like I could this is gonna sound so like haughty, but in a way it's like I can contribute to society not necessarily just like by having children, but whether it's adopting, whether it's becoming a mentor, in other ways.
sure. Yeah.
But
I'm not a
there there is that kind of selfish, and that's probably because of nature, um selfish desire to like co-create with my partner, you know and
Uh,
it's the struggle.
I don't consider that selfish. And I consider it hopeful, and also maybe that's selfish, but whatever. Uh, but also like the immense amount of sacrifice that you're gonna have to go through if you do that.
I know.
Who does that? It's not fundamentally a selfish act.
Well, the first part is like that desire is like a selfish act to me. I'm not saying that for everyone, but for me it feels selfish because I don't have to, right? I don't need to. But there is the other selfish part about not having children, which is I don't want to give up my lifestyle. I don't want to give up my flexibility, right?
Yeah.
At least not right now. I don't know if like down the line I'll regret it or change my mind. I don't know. But and that's where it's like, okay, are there other ways? What are the other ways that I could make my contributions without necessarily like completely wrecking my what I have right now?
Yeah, you're expressing everything that I was thinking before I had children.
I
A
think
child.
the act of
And it is slightly selfish on both ways, and you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's selfish, like only in the sense like of the actual like when you look at the etymological meaning of the words, like it's something of yourself that you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, not necessarily a negative thing. Because like, yeah, I'll say it. I think you're a great person, Panda. I would like a little panda running around. I think that would make the world a better place.
Thank you.
It's implied in what I said if it wasn't clear also.
I appreciate that.
well, I think Janath also implied that we should sterilize unethical people, right?
Oh
I
no, no.
yeah, or just outright murder.
Oh dear.
Oh my god.
Can
No,
okay,
we should educate them.
one more thing
Re-educate them.
Yeah.
before we move off of this particular topic. Um, I've looked at our statistics for our podcast, and the majority of our podcast listeners are male.
Mhm.
And
Like
I
80%, 80, 90?
yeah, it's something ridiculous, like 80,
Yeah.
maybe even more. So here's a shout out to the ladies that are listening. Let me know if you feel the same way. Anyway,
So we're still on this topic of children, which I think these two books are largely about children. It broke my heart when they were carrying around this bag of knickknacks and they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was so important.
but if for was it Badell, it at some point it did frighten her.
Yeah,
Mm.
she was getting angry. Why are you
She was
doing
like,
this? It's gonna kill
"What
you.
are you doing?"
These things are useless. Yeah.
What was the meaning hidden inside the sack? All those stupid bits, the shiny stones, the pieces of wood. Yeah,
Yeah.
On some level, she must have known. Like,
probably.
viscerally.
On some level, absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe that was her fear of like allowing herself to recognize what it is and then realize what they've lost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I got another quote here about children and giving love. It says, "How could one give so freely of love to another when the final outcome is one of betrayal? When one must leave the other to be the betrayer who dies, to be the betrayed who left alive? How can this be an even exchange with death waiting at the end?" And that counts for anybody in your life, but especially like giving life to somebody else and then betraying them by dying or vice versa. It's also
Yeah.
something I consider a lot.
Call back to Tattersall, by the way, who was the first person who used even exchange in the series, I think.
Always an even exchange.
Yeah,
I
and
love
then of
Tattersall.
course she dies on Ganos, so
Though she was referring to the exchange between mages and
yes,
soldiers. Yeah.
yes. But resonances, bells being rung.
You see that attitude start in Forge of the High Mage, and it's so awesome.
Oh yeah, I agree. That's so good.
I love and it's with Tashrin. It's so cool.
I
Tashrin's the
like
best
Tashrin.
character in that book. You need to read Forge of the Mage Mage because
I know I
great.
do. Cam is just he writes the characters that people hate so well. Like he did Lazine like so well in Return of the Crimson Card.
And in
And
Knight of Knives, I think. Briefly, but
yeah.
I thought she was good in it.
Yeah. And yeah, Cam's just a good writer. Read his stuff, listeners.
Ba- Back to kids. Man, Gaul's section kills me every time. He hasn't had his kid yet, but like when he's just, being mopey and hates himself and whatever, Fiddler comes in, he's like, "No disrespect," and then he goes on to say like the most disrespectful thing you could ever say and then walks away.
Stop
And then,
moping around feeling sorry for yourself. God, we got places to be, people.
Your history
and,
is just that.
and
Yeah.
then Gaul talks to his wife. He's just like, "I need you to hate me." God, that hurt.
Yeah.
I think that particular storyline was well done to show the strength of his wife.
Mhm.
She's so good.
And it's kind of like I don't like him, but I do really like her. And so I'm okay with him being so sucky because that way like she could show her strength.
I don't think
These
he's
last
sucky. I think that's just lacking compassion to call him sucky.
Yeah, I
he
agree.
has lost
Dude's
all of his children.
dude's been through hell and back. I mean, his wife absolutely handled it much better than it, and she's like
Mhm.
the example that we should look to for handling that kind of thing. But I mean,
But part of
Gaul,
her example is her understanding that he doesn't suck, while everyone else around her dismisses him as being just like this dirtbag.
Fair.
No, not even him as the dirtbag, as the woman who's sleeping with him as the real like she's the one that's really getting persecuted by the women
That's
of the
true.
burned tears,
Yeah.
which I think is uh, telling, let's say, about societal treatment of men versus women.
mm,
Um,
Yeah.
I will say I really love how this book and the book previous, they're like very women led, right? Like
Mhm.
women are being placed front and center. There's like an examination of okay, this is women have a strength that men don't have. It's like explicitly stated in one of the later chapters, and then it's just constantly reemphasized in all these ways, and like, and I think it's really refreshing to see that in a epic fantasy series that has a mostly male demographic. Let's say,
also mostly male cast too.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, More levity. I really enjoyed. I enjoy every section, but Draconis and Ublala Pong. Ublala continues to be something that we should protect and cherish and laugh at the same time.
Um. Okay. Do we have anything to say about Mappo? I don't think so. Really, it just gets attacked by the locusts, the shards here, and then Badel's like, "No."
I think that was an interesting way to introduce the quote unquote dead god,
But he was
right?
already introduced, right? Like the shards have been eating the
But not in
snake
the
for a
way
long time.
that well, at least I didn't realize that that was the dead god. It was much
Yeah,
clearer
it's
here.
yeah. In these books for sure. That they say it explicitly. I think in later chapters as well.
Is that
Yes,
when
because
Badal
he's
is?
hmm?
Sorry, go ahead. I was wondering if this is the section where Badal puts down Mappo for abandoning the children for
No,
another child. Oh, okay.
no, that's a later chapter. That's a, that one. That one's a good section of the Mappo. I think I have something to say about that.
So
But
this section was where he's thinking like you're all divers. You're all one thing, one creature, the flies, the locusts, the butterflies, and this
mhm.
desert is where you live. And then this is where he makes it really clear. It's like, oh, y- this is like a god. It's a soul
Mhm.
taken. No, sorry, it's a diverse. And then um, he asks the question, who stung you so? Who in this desert drove you away? Why are you fleeing? The being was ancient. And then this is where Badel like saves him,
Yeah,
right? By telling them to go away.
she uses up the last of her magic.
Yeah, a song of banishing.
And then Silchus Rune is like, peace to Rudalal. Thank God. Silchus Rune is so much cooler than Rud. I like him so much more when he's away from Rudalal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess he was just babysitting, really, right?
yeah.
That's basically it. Um, but still, just Runa wrote a lot like discussing stuff was really cool.
It was fine. You know,
No, it was
first
awesome.
characters.
They
Like,
had that
whenever Silchus is saying
exchange with
things, it's
Ola
good.
Ethel, and then like she's like, "Your brother's dead," and Rodalaw's like, "You're mean," and then he's talking about like attacking and defending. We wouldn't have those conversations otherwise.
We could
Those are
just
great.
have Steve could have given Silchus Ruin like a pet rock, and Silchus could have just
No,
said those things to a pet rock.
that's
You
just
know,
no. You're just being facetious. That's not true, and you know it.
I
Um,
don't think Rudalel added anything interesting to the conversations.
no, but if
I
Rodalaw wasn't
don't think
there, we
that's a hot
wouldn't have
take.
it.
So yeah, so this is what the pet rock is there for.
That's the worst idea ever.
like, okay, it doesn't need to be literally a pet rock, but it could be like any character, right? Like Silchus will just exposit his thoughts to
Here's the
anybody who will
thing,
listen.
though, I think something has to be said about somebody like conversing back
Mhm.
with him and like asking questions as maybe like in the stead of the reader. So like the whole conversation that they have about the sword
Mhm.
that Shadow Throne gives him, right? And Rodolal is just like, so what did he
Does
give
he want?
you that in
Yeah.
exchange for? And so just like, I don't actually
Like,
know.
that's a good question. Yeah. So you know who would be an excellent conversational partner for Silchus Ruin, and who would make sense narratively?
Huh.
Udnos.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Okay,
Yes.
Radalal serves as like in this protege like master relationship, right?
Hmm.
And it mirrors everything that they've done in the book as far as like leaving something behind for the people who come after you, right?
Sure.
It wouldn't make any sense for Udinas.
Okay. Well, okay.
I agree.
I
That's
think
fair.
there's ways to make it work, but alternatively, Steve could have written Rudalal to be more interesting
Okay,
and
that's fine.
channeled some Udanos into him because he's Udanos' son, and Udanos has been, raising him for some amount of time, not a huge amount of time,
And
but a
their
significant
conversation
portion
was
of his
really
life.
interesting. The Radalal Udinas conversation.
The- huh? Oh, that one. Mostly because of Udanos, though,
Oh
right?
yeah.
so, so we're agreeing that Rudd is not an interesting guy.
Oh
Yes,
my
but
goodness.
you said he just shouldn't be there. And I'm saying if he wasn't there, we wouldn't have these great conversations with
I'm saying like him as a character doesn't add anything. Him as like a function in the story, sure, that's fine. But someone like other better characters can fill that void, or this character
Or
could be written to be better.
or there could be right, or there could be a character who's the son of Menandor and Utnas who's interesting. Like
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the
That's the ideal situation, but unfortunately, Rudd
Sure.
is not
I'm
interesting.
shutting down all of your other terrible ideas and agreeing with you where you're right.
correct. Yeah, I'm with you on that here.
Uh, Silchesrun did have a nice mic drop moment though in his conversation with
Yeah.
uh Riyadh. Um, what was it? It was like,
The stupid new name. I hate it so
I
much.
don't know. This is what is written. Is that intentional? It's intentional, right?
That it's stupid?
Remember, I asked about this in the group chat. I was like, "Why does he have a new name? When did
Like,
this happen?"
I don't know why.
he's just going
I
through his teenager phase, and he's like, "Oh, my ancestors would have called me Rayad Elal or whatever, so that's how I'm gonna go now." I don't know.
Wasn't it?
It's
No, but wasn't it? Silchas
Filchus is the
Ruin.
one that says it to him. He's like, "Oh, this is what your name is in like the ancient tongue," and they just go with it. I don't know. That's
Yeah, that's the worst decision that Silchas Ruin ever made.
yeah.
maybe we
I
should ask Steve
totally
because I
agree.
have no idea.
Okay. So he says da 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 da. Like, our perilous mission, all of it a lie. Your father understood. I promised him that I would save you, and I have done so. Why did you bother? Because you are dangerous enough alone, Riyadh, in a storm. No, I could not risk that. Then you intend to fight them after all. I will defend my freedom, Riyadh. What makes you think you can? With what you said of the ancients? Because I am one, Riyadh, an ancient. Da da da.
Filchus is cool.
Silchess is really cool. I
The
love
way you
Silchess.
just read that came off as like 3000% more anime than the way that I read.
That was for
Filchus,
dramatic
like,
effect.
he's an anime character. Like one of the
Don't
more
say,
anime
please
characters.
don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm gonna say it to Steve.
Oh
Oh
no.
god.
He is.
I
He is.
I think that Silchus is the most interesting of the his brothers.
Well, and Darius didn't like get
Yeah, he just kind of dies.
I think I agree, but I really like all three brothers a lot.
I do too. Like they're all really good characters. I just think that Silchus is like the most interesting placement among them because Animander's like the golden boy who never does anything. Well, he does do stuff wrong,
He
but
does
he's
a
like
lot of
never.
stuff.
He doesn't really have to deal with like significant failures in the Book of the Fallen, right? And Andorus is just kind of like a grumpy guy who dies. Um, yeah.
Mandarist is intriguing, but the intrigue, you don't get anything for it until Carcanus. So
Yeah.
and then there's a little bit until the Hound's flashbacks. It's very sparse. We get the most time on the page with Silchest Ruin, and he actually like talks about why he does things,
hmm
and instead of like just being like, I'm so mysterious and I'll just like quietly, passively like silence you into doing the things I want you to do for me, and it'll be perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that's the thing with
right.
Animander, right? Like all of his plans turn out perfectly in the series, and no one really puts him in his place. And I think it'd be really interesting if at some point someone had put Animander in his place.
Besides
agree.
Whiskey Jack and Caladan Brood and Memories of Ice.
Like they don't like they don't like shut him. Like it's kind of like they have a back and forth. But like Silchus Ruin, like he gets put in his place at the end of Reaper's Gale, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes back in Dust of Dreams, and like his reaction to that is very interesting. Animander, like he never has to deal with like a serious setback. He just kind of like, I shoulder the burden.
Yeah, I feel like he has a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's got a lot going on, usually internally, and the reader has to think about that through our friend, the Focus named Nimander. But
Ugh.
oh my god.
We're gonna have an argument on Animander later, aren't we?
you're so wrong.
Actually, okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
What we know about what we can know and what we can infer about his internal thoughts are all focused through Nimander. That's fun. That's cool. That's what makes Nimander an interesting character.
Maybe. Do you want to talk about dinosaur tracks?
Wait, one thing about the Rudalal uh, thing. I really like the part where Rudalal was like, "Aren't you gonna kill Olarathil? She was mean to you." And he's like, "Ah, those are just words. Don't worry about it."
Yeah. Yeah, right? Like showing some maturity there, Silchus. Well done. And also he's like, we got bigger problems.
We got bigger problems.
There may be a little bit of disingenuousness there, though. I mean, like she put him on his ass with those words. So
She
he's
Yeah.
did,
like,
but he's
there's a
trying to be a
little
good
bit.
mentor.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And he recognizes that like Tash is kind of right.
Yeah, she's kind of right, and they are just words. I mean, sometimes you just need to let that off your
So
back.
the mirror for Silchus Rune, I guess, in these books is Tenacalion, for whom words are not just words.
I hate
Oh,
Seneca.
that
I
dude,
love.
man.
I forgot that this happened. I loved that the wolves just shut him down.
Oh yeah.
Later, they were
Yeah,
just
later.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"You screwed up, and you're petty, and everything in you is worthless." Like it was so good. I forget exactly what they said, but I loved it.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Cool.
dinosaur tracks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they so you know how they like found in the desert pressed bones of fish were revealed of types no one had ever seen before. There was like some massively jawed monstrosity was etched in rust red bones. Da 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 da. Um, because of the recent extreme drought in Texas, they have now discovered new dinosaur tracks.
Oh,
Neat.
Yeah.
so we're
Anyway,
pro
that was a
drought now.
tangent.
I like that.
Yeah. Let's go drought.
We are not pro drought. But that was a silver lining.
Think of the paleontologists.
Uh,
Listen. Texas could get evacuated and just become like a dig site.
I'd be fine with that.
Chapter 15. Yetendari collects his first dragon skull, then kills a few hounds for good measure. Pithy promptly perishes. Sandlath begins to go mad on the throne of Carcanus.
Or
So
Sandy.
this is where the Carcanus plot finally starts paying some dividends.
Panda, how do you feel about Sandy?
uh,
Let's get the unpleasant stuff out of the way.
I want to feel sorry for her. I want to empathize with her. But really, I just want to give her a good shake.
Yeah.
She's got a few of them, but they're defending the first shore.
Oh my god.
That's good.
Okay, I walked
That's
into that
in.
one.
That was good.
So we don't. Probably don't have anything to say about Sandlath. Her scenes are, yeah, they're fine. You know, they're well written. I think I can say.
Are they?
I find them heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I think they're very, very sad, and I really enjoy sections.
I know they're meant to be sad, but if I'm not feeling sad, when I
It helps
read
if
it.
you read this is the plot line I think that is like most like, oh yes, Carcanus.
Okay.
But
Do you
like
remember last
I think
book
it's a
when
failing here.
we were shown like children dying over and over again, and like they were pooping out like worms and then eating each other, and you're like, I just don't care.
Not
I
say
don't think
I
that
didn't
Panda said
care.
that.
You're like, I hate children; they should die.
That is definitely
I am
not what I
pro
said.
fork roll sale.
Oh
Oh
my
my god.
goodness.
I do find myself caring a lot more about Sanderlath after reading for Fall of Light.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Joking aside, I actually agree, and I didn't really like Sandalath my first time reading,
yeah, no.
so I
I'm
don't blame you
sorry
at all.
not liking her.
Okay, can we take a pause because there is no disagreement. Like I am not disagreeing that Erikson can write well. Okay? However, if it's like you are not really going to have the emotional reaction that he would want you to have with this character, with this scene, without reading a whole nother book,
Mhm.
like to me that is a big risk that he took, right? And he does this a lot throughout the series. Um, it is a big risk that he takes, and you know, I think something to be said is like reading just the main 10, you can get what you want out of it. Um, I acknowledge that there is deeper, like more things to get out of it if you read the other things around the main 10. But the fact that for this scene that's pretty drawn out and I'm supposed to feel an emotional connection, but I don't really, but you guys do because you read some other book. Like
Another book
to me,
that was not written when this was released.
okay,
But
and maybe that was a response to like, oh, I did not land on this one, so now let me go back and provide the material so now people can go back and feel what I wanted them to feel. Like to me, I'm gonna say it, don't hate me. This was a bit of a fail.
I totally agree with you. Yep. I think it's a totally fair criticism, and yeah, if it like this can hit for people without reading Harkness. I don't think it does for a lot of people, and yeah, I think generally like this is one of the weaker parts. And I think it's totally fair to criticize and not find it super compelling.
I'm curious because these books are not just written for the nerds who are gonna read Carcanus and fucking and novels in Malazan Empire, Past Lucency, and all that. They're also written to be reread, just the 10.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And a lot of stuff I noticed in the first few books does hit harder, or you notice things that you wouldn't have noticed on the reread. Like there is a lot that's embedded there for the reread. And I will never get to experience this because I read Carcanus before doing this reread.
oh, okay.
But I'm wondering if it hits hard, if this is another one of those scenes that does hit better on the reread, or if it really is just like he he failed to
Mm,
land, and it requires Carcan. You know what I mean? Like I don't know
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
answer, and I never will know the answer because I would have to erase my memory of Carcanus and reread the 10 books to get that answer right. But I don't know.
Well, if I take your advice that I'm not gonna like Kark and I don't read it and then I reread the main 10, then I'll tell you.
Okay.
See you in 20
I,
years.
See you
I
in 20
don't.
years.
Yeah, I don't imagine this is something that becomes significantly better for a lot of people on a reread if they don't read Carcanus. Like
That's my
because like
suspicion, but I just wanted to voice the
yeah,
speculation.
because when I'm reading it here, my thoughts are going to Carcanus. If my thoughts were not going to Carcanus, I would honestly be skimming it. Like
Yeah.
I appreciate what's being done. I can recognize that it's like fine on a technical level, but yeah, it's like as you said, it just does not emotionally connect.
It reads without Kark, it reads like a Shakespearean like tragedy about a noble person going insane. Like
Yeah,
that's
and if we
yeah.
if we cared more about Sandalath, then I think it would work within this series.
I
But I think
agree.
Sandalath misses for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and like I can't blame them because, like honestly, in this series, she doesn't seem to have a lot of redeeming qualities.
Yeah, I care more about Withal and their relationship than I do about her, and that was made very clear to me by this sequence as they grow farther apart and she
Mm.
goes insane and he goes
Mhm.
off and does his own thing. I mean, not that I care about him that much either, but like it was very much clear to me who was pulling the weight because they get pulled apart here, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I don't care about her without him.
So
Uh,
here's the thing about Sandleth is that I thought I was missing something. Like when I was reading this section, I was like, and the section after, it's like, I I feel like I'm missing something because I'm not having the emotional reaction that I think I'm supposed to be having. And so then I
Mhm.
went and looked on the wiki to just see like, okay, what did I forget about this character? And reading the wiki, I'm like, okay, I didn't really actually forget much. So it's not like I really missed a ton. Like, I completely missed something
A- And part
significant.
of me wonders if it's not that he failed here and then wrote Carcanis to like retroactively justify it for Book of the Fallen readers, and if, as I suspect is the case with a lot of the Carcanis and Tice stuff in the last three books of this series, if it is more written to make you care about these characters when you read Carcanis.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like a lot of this seems like he's like preparing
interesting.
the ground for Carcanis more so than vice. I mean, I don't know. We could ask him uh,
Yeah.
without maybe saying your character sucks.
But like, take for example, like the Hust sword here, right? Like that's an example of something that, like, okay, I was interested to learn more when I read Carcanis, but it also works very well in this book, right?
With,
Like,
right, without ever reading Carcanis,
yeah,
and it
That's
made me
true.
want to read Carcanis more. And when the Hust stuff comes up in Carcanis, it made me like it, but without taking away from this book.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So that's a better example of the same thing. That
Mhm.
it does it, and it works both ways. You appreciate it more here because you read Carcanis, and you appreciate it more in Carcanis because you
Yeah,
read this. Like
you're like
it
wondering, like, wait, one guy with one of these swords did this? What could an entire legion do?
Yeah, that did
Yeah,
make me more curious.
right.
Yeah.
An entire legion could go into a war and then kill all the dragons and then seal it with 5 left over.
Yeah.
I think our listeners and you all notice I've just been very quiet, and that's mostly because I mostly agree with everything you've all said.
Excellent.
Okay.
But I think it would be an interesting conversation, especially to have with AP, about like mm, first of all, reader response theory, and like if this works for some people, is that good enough? Does it need to work for everybody? And then about like retroactive and external
Mm,
text relying on
yeah.
reader emotional response. And is that a failing, or if it's on purpose, is it's fine, even if it's not on purpose? I think that's an interesting conversation to have. But
Yeah.
I totally
I'm
agree.
fine moving on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is definitely a conversation I think would be fantastic with AP, and I would honestly like to see how he received it
Mm.
because, yeah,
Yeah, what notes did he give?
yeah.
And finally, I actually really did like it because of Rex Carconis.
Okay, let's move on to something that's like everyone I think enjoys. Yendaric,
Woo!
right?
Yay!
Woo!
Yeah.
So revisiting my criticism of the way the hounds are defeated in Toll the Hounds, this this is how you do it, I think, because
Yeah.
you showcase how dangerous the hounds are with the battles with Pithy and Twilight, right? Like, oh,
Poor
the way, like,
Pithy.
it was just kind of like ripping through Pithy's legion, and she
Yeah.
still managed to drive it off. That's like some genuinely heroic stuff that shows you the power of the common person, even though they get beaten by in the end. And you get Yendaric, who gets to be a total bamf and save the whole army, and it feels believable because I don't know, like the way Yendaric is written is just like so
Well,
captivating.
because there was also precedence with how he handled the Liliosin and the Four Crow Sail
Yeah,
um
yeah, he's a
previously.
superlative fighter. He's not just dude with axe.
Yeah.
um, and like at the same time, he also has this like magical sword that's really horrifying. And at the end of all this, he ends up dead, which,
Yeah.
like, all of these things just come together to make like, yes, this is a well written sequence of badass monsters that get killed by badass humans, and feels believable.
And the stakes are there, and
Mhm.
not just like world-ending consequences, but also like personal consequences. Because the scene between the Watch and Twilight, and he's inspiring all of his troops to consider this to be their home, and they're all buying it. But then like between he and his sister, she's like, oh wow, he just doesn't feel like this at all. I was
Mhm.
like, oh damn. And then finally, it's a later chapter, and then he dies. It's just so cathartic.
Yeah. Well, because when you're going into that, scene with it in Kark where you understand like the other side has dragons. The Sheik, they're just normal people basically, right? And then
Mhm.
there's the Letheri. Like, how are they going to fight these dragons? And also, they are outnumbered, and you go in very just expecting the worst.
Mhm.
Like, what hope is there? And then he comes out with this scene where Yenderic shows them, like, this is what I'm meant for, this is what I can do. And that really provides the hope and motivation for everybody else to do beyond what any normal person would have been able to.
Mhm.
So that's pretty
And it was
cool.
it was also an excellent decision, I think, to show the POVs from the Leosin side,
Yeah.
because you only they only have their own perspective, and they're expecting like this huge army on the other
Yeah, this
side, and what
Legion.
there's a lot of dramatic irony there, and what we know and what they don't know, and
Yeah.
what's actually going on. And then Fant is just an a-hole,
Mhm.
and he's leaving their biggest troops, which also adds like more suspense because like, oh, they haven't even started fighting the elite troops.
Right.
So we got like double irony there. And then finally, we see the perspective from Fant's underling. I don't remember his name. Do you remember
Apparel
his name?
Forge.
Aperol.
April
Yeah.
Forge, and he's like, "You're killing your people, and they're going to resent you for it, and this is not going to go well for you in the end." I like that, but finally, we get the flashback with Calor, which was amazing. I love that section so much, and I can understand after reading that why people like Calor.
Yeah, it was a great scene, so beautiful. And in Walk in Shadow, it's gonna be that's we're still getting previews for Carcanis we haven't even read yet. That's gonna be Walk in Shadow stuff, I bet.
I'm not sure.
I don't
No?
think it's gonna show up in Kark.
No.
But at least like the lead up to it, like the character,
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
I
like
think we'll get a lot of that there.
and Calor's gonna be in it. He's already confirmed that, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like
But I
we're gonna
don't think that
see like
specific scene.
around it
Yeah.
more.
I'm actually pretty mid on that one. That scene. But
Well, when he comes up there, he's like, I killed your mother," and they're like, "Oh, you
like
killed her." And she's like, "She died by her own hand," and it's like playing to that Calor is like he takes blame for everything because he's self-hating, and then he wants to
Yeah.
kill himself, and he wants people to kill him, and he's like, "Do you really think the people who kill themselves are to blame for this? It's everybody's fault, including yours, reader."
Yeah, and like there's another angle on that too, in that he wants to die, but he's aware that it's not going to happen because of the curse. So he's like does the dramatic like throws down his sword and he's like, "Do with me what you will," but he knows he's picking the sword back up and walking out of that room. Like it's like, so good.
I don't know. He just seems very obnoxious.
He is very obnoxious.
He
he
is. He's
is
super
high
obnoxious.
on his own supply.
Yeah.
He
I mean, I
is
don't.
super.
Do I still hate him? I think it's been like long enough that I'm like, I don't have that intense dislike of him. Now I'm just like, okay, yeah, I forgot you existed. Now you reminded me that you existed.
That's
I've
hilarious.
always hated Calor, and I still don't like him very much. But like, he's one of those guys that you hate, but you're like, yeah, he's he's got good points.
A good book for Calor haters and Calor lovers is Blood and Bone.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Uh,
There's a lot of good
I
Calor stuff in the ice books.
yeah. I respect Calor. I like him conceptually. And I
Yes,
don't like him as a person at all.
Agreed.
I would immediately
totally.
lose my patience.
I guess I would say that he is an interesting character.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
everyone would have to agree with that, right? Everyone's sane. Shall we move on? Chapter 16?
Sure.
Excellent. Chapter 16. Silch's Ruin reunites with Tulas Shorn, his old friend. Krupp decides to offer his daughters some child support. Gruntle and Kalava fight at the gate of Stargold Demlane. Mappo encounters, then flees from the city of Icarius. Korobus returns to the world. Korobus. I think Korobus is one of the cooler names in the series.
Yes. I liked the Krupp scene because I love Krupp, but I also thought it was hilarious that it reminded me of Santa Claus showing up in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and giving out gifts because he's like the fat man in the red waistcoat, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, his story about how he like has like bastard children by like some noble, like I loved it.
Got super sperm, man. It'll swim up the river. God, Krupp is such a deadbeat dad.
I still
Like, the
can't get
aesthetics,
over that he had children.
he shouldn't have
And
children.
they're not the only ones either from his
No.
story. He had
I-
the
He
court
neglects
threw
them
his
all
case
equally,
out.
I'm sure.
Okay, what happened in this chapter again?
I forgot.
So we get Silchus Ruin reuniting with Tulas Shorn. They have their old, like, oh, you're such a dumb idiot. No, you're a dumb idiot. And then they clasp
Oh, yeah,
hands,
yeah.
like, oh, my buddy.
Panda loved
Okay.
that scene.
I love that
It's a good
so
scene.
much. Oh.
It's a good trope. Yeah.
I love
Mhm.
it too, yeah.
And it's a good example of how Soldier's Ruin is even cooler when there's a good character written.
Yeah, how about that?
Good point.
I love Tula Shorn. Kagamandra Tulis.
I think he's fine. I think he has interesting parts to him. He's definitely cooler than Rudalal.
I think he's cooler in Carcass.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah.
I think in the Book of the Fallen, he's just mostly like cool because he's mysterious.
And he's like, I like animals. He's the redeemed animal lover in the
But
series.
isn't he the original? Isn't even within the Book of the Fallen, he's revealed as the original, like owner or master of the hounds?
Yes.
That's what he says.
That's what
Yeah.
he says, at least. Yeah.
He thinks that he is.
Well,
We're given a lot of
semi-confirmed,
like
semi-confirmed in
contradicting
Fallen.
evidence on this.
Yeah. I like the idea that the hounds are elemental forces. I think they're more
Mm.
interesting that way than if they're just, dogs.
Yeah.
Dogs are cool.
Yes. So she is no longer a problem. Her sister will have to deal with her or someone else. They're talking about the Ototaro dragon.
Korobus, yeah.
Who is?
So her sister is TM, which is
Okay.
like kind of a metaphor. TM is like what happens when you assemble all the dragons, sort of. TM manifests.
Is this like a Dragon Ball Z situation? Like, what is this?
Yeah, kind of.
TM
Like-
is the goddess mother of all dragons, and when you get a group of dragons, is there like some sort of group noun for dragons? Maybe like a rage
Storm.
of dragons or
Storm.
something? A
Yeah,
storm of
it's
dragons.
said in this section, yeah.
When you get a storm of dragons, then TM manifests.
A big enough storm of dragons, like an apocalyptic size storm.
Basically,
And-
all the dragons ever.
And this is drawn like straight from the monster manual of Dungeons and Dragons, which has Tiamat as the
Yeah.
like god of dragons. Like it's like the one thing he like lifted wholesale out of D&D with no like he slapped the name of land
Alteration.
on it and like had them be like tied to the Warrens and made their blood chaos. But like other than that, like the dragons in Malazan are like the only thing that are lifted like straight out of D&D. And Tiamat, it's clearly inspired by that.
Tiamat, the concept of like the mother dragon is not native. It wasn't come up with by Gary Gygax though. It was that's
Where did that come
definitely an
from?
older idea, right?
From what?
I don't know, but like definitely not original to D&D.
Okay.
D&D like came up with no original ideas, right?
Okay.
Let's see. I'll see if I can find any.
They came up with halflings. That was original.
That's fun.
And yeah, tree folk. Yeah. Ah, yes. The name is taken from Tiamat, a goddess in ancient Mesopotamian mythology.
No.
There, about as old as you can get.
I did like this section with was it Kilimandros?
When they released
Erastus.
Korobus.
Yeah. Where like
This was our
Kilimandros
plan
is
all along.
yeah, but like Kilimandros like gives it to Erastus.
It's always fun.
You tell him.
Yeah,
Like,
the
don't
the
speak
three of
ill of
them.
Animander.
Yeah, stop dissing my boy, who I
You were
hate.
never his match, and even in death he stands taller than you in all your guises. Do you think I do not hear your resentment? Your envy? It disgusts me.
Also a trope I
Um,
love. Respect between enemies.
yeah, the section between these three elder gods, like to me, it seems like they're each passing the idiot ball to the other at various points, and like the others are just like getting really smug about it. It's like, oh, you didn't think of this, did you? And then they keep going on their snarky, toxic ways. I can't tell if I like it or not.
Yeah, I guess it's like, are they just plot devices?
It kind of feels like Setchel Lath is at times, right? I like
Yeah.
Kilmandaros. I guess her function is mostly as a plot device, but to me,
She
she
feels
makes
real
a
though
lot
to
of
me.
sense. She feels real. She's like the personification of destruction. And
Mhm.
Erastus has a lot of stuff that's interesting about him, even though he's like a real dick. But yeah, Setchel Lath, uh, like he's not got much going on. I don't think. He
I
doesn't
thought it
feel
was
to me like a
nice.
god of chance, I should say.
That
He
I
doesn't
agree
feel
with.
strongly aspected.
Like if he wasn't at all in the story, would we miss?
Like we wouldn't have like a set of eyes to view the interactions between Kilmandaros
Mm,
and
okay.
Erastus. So it's like it's the Rudalal problem.
Hey, maybe we shouldn't release Korobos because she's gonna destroy everything.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think of the plan? How about this? What do you think of the plan? This is very close to what you were saying was the end game of the series, Panda.
What did I say again?
That they were going to kill magic.
Oh, right. Yeah, because the Odotaro dragon is like the opposition. Actually, okay, I did have a thought, but I
Mhm.
think it's very wrong. But it's like because there are books that are set after these events.
Yes.
Is
Free.
there magic
Yeah.
in those books?
I will say things have changed very significantly by the time of the God is not willing.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking. I think I my theory was too drastic, but I may be on the right path. Is that they do succeed? The Odotaro dragon does succeed in destroying magic somehow, and my afterthought of that is, oh, is this gonna be one of those things where it's like our present reality is the aftermath of, these events and we don't have magic and, you know, I that thought did cross my mind. I don't think Steve would do that to us because if he
Like
did,
it's a
So
smooth
my
transition to urban fantasy.
yeah, I would throw this book
Like
at a
this is
wall.
actually takes place in the extended universe of the Dresden Files.
I've never read the Dresden Files, but sure.
my
Um,
theory at this point in the book, my first time through, was that um Carabas would succeed and the existing Warrens would be destroyed and that they would be replaced with like the Malazan mages, the squad mages and team would fix up Ikariam's Warrens to replace the Dragon Warrens.
hmm. I can definitely like that is definitely a possibility I'm entertaining, but I am wondering if it's something more drastic where like even though magic doesn't exist or at least not as strongly after these events, other things will like take the place of magic. So like innovation, industrialization, um, just like humans being able to evolve beyond like this power struggle and really being able to innovate um, and evolve their
Or new ways
societies.
to destroy the environment.
Well,
New,
there's that
better
too.
ways.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
those are very similar to my thoughts when I was reading this for the first time. Let's see.
Cool.
Ditto. But I think it's an interesting plan, Korobos.
Hmm.
It's certainly something to look forward to.
Um,
Well, it's a
it
it's a ticking time bomb, right?
yeah,
Yeah, she can't stay around much longer, and they're just gonna
it
kill each other.
it kind of reinforces a uh, a fundamentally structuralist metaphysics of the the Malazan world, right? You literally like if you destroy this opposite, both sides collapse. You suddenly don't like you need these paired opposites for anything to exist.
Right.
And then all the interesting stuff is the interplay between them. Ooh, structuralism.
Darkness,
All the
light.
interesting bits being the stuff in between them is post-structuralist, though.
No, structuralism. Okay, well,
Okay.
we can chat about that later. I don't think listeners care.
Humans cheat.
Humans cheat.
Humans
Just like the quick
cheat.
Ben.
Yep. Who is definitely not dead. And so it just says that the game will turn. Toolist, just watch. Dun
Mhm.
dun dun.
Gruntle and Kalava fight. Yo. Who's here
Okay,
for Gruntle?
there was a listener question about this. I think it was from Sun Gamer. Oh yeah. Gruntle's death. Impactful for the hosts? I found by the time it happened, Gruntle was so far gone that it was less affecting than I expected. The Lava trying to warm his corpse got me good though. I agree.
Did he have any connection to the Imlava? I don't think he did.
Because cat?
Yeah, like that's the guess the connection. But like there wasn't anything personal there.
Maybe because Lava was on Gruntle's side in the fight of not releasing all the dragons.
Oh.
I don't think they had a thought process there. Right? Like they're just kind of cats.
So I think basically the way I interpreted it was that they missed having people around after the IMAS left, and when he first showed up and saw them, and he thought they were gonna fight him, he was like, "What's up?" And then they were like, "Meow, be my friend," and that's it. Like that's the extent of it.
I'm shocked that Honorak didn't take them with him. Shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those weren't all the Lava, right?
What? No, they're the two Imlava that he saved after he killed their mother.
Yeah.
I was sad when he died. I really like Gruntle, but I don't know if it was the writing or what. I wasn't that moved, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right.
I think his motivations kind of make sense, in that he just hated being a mortal sword. He wanted to kill Drake in the process, but it'd be nice if they just talk to each other and find out, oh, maybe we don't need to fight.
Yeah, it's like the most unnecessary fight, right? Like,
Yes.
whoever wins is not going to be able to affect the outcome at all.
No.
Right? Like, Gruntle tries to kill the dragons tear him apart. Kalava kills Gruntle, she leaves. There you go. It's just one scenario Kalava lives and the other she doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, with so much death and fighting in these last two books, especially in the Crippled God, it's like it just seems unnecessary.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not telling me, oh, you would feel differently if you read Kark.
No. I like Kalava's speech here. I like how she's like, I am Kalava. I am the last of the ancient living bonecasters. I am stronger than most of your human gods and older. But I think Gruntle as a character really peaked in Memories of Ice and became almost completely uninteresting me in terms of narrative after he left Darujistan, because the characters that he cares about are all in Darujistan, and absent them, like he's just kind of moping the entire time.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting about those people in Darujistan.
Little Harlow.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people forget about Little Harlow. Don't worry.
Also, like, what I don't really understand, like, what the end does, or maybe Gruntle doesn't understand what the end game would be if he actually succeeded here somehow.
He doesn't.
He
Yeah.
doesn't. That was my point. And like, if they just stopped and talked to each other, like they didn't need this. I think Gruntle is just so angry and so tired that he's like, I'm gonna suicide. I'm gonna kill Drake in the process.
Yeah, he's giving himself over to his persona. He's like, I abandoned these children. I can never forgive myself. So he's just like, screw it. Which, I don't know. I feel like it could have been done better. I feel like it has been done better in this book. So.
Is Kalava Trake's mom?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this totally even more doesn't make sense.
Well, she was trying to keep him away.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just had the opposite effect.
Okay.
I don't even know why she fought, honestly. Because she ended up killing Gruntle anyways. So if her plan was to kill him, I don't know, like as I said, he would have been killed by the dragons.
I agree.
So,
Mappo has some moments, a moment here, where it's I'm a little torn about this piece, this section. He says, "Someone wants you, Ikariam, to be their weapon, but if I reach you first, I could awaken you to who you are. I could speak the truth of your history, friend, and when you set the point of the dagger to your chest, I could stand back, do nothing. I could honor you with the one thing I still had, myself. I could be the witness to your one act of justice. I could talk you into killing yourself. Is it possible that this is where friendship can take us? What would I do then? I would bury you and weep over the stones for my loss, as friends will do." Um, I don't think Erikson is like pro suicide and like helping people commit suicide. I don't think that's what this is. Um, but then I'm like, okay, what is he really trying to convey with this?
Yeah. Well, okay. So the the conversation about suicide versus like something like euthanasia.
Yeah.
I think there's a there's a lot of
Yeah.
good complexity there and a lot of like tough arguments that need to be had. And I think it's clearly the case that it's not a binary. Obviously, it's not good to convince people to murder themselves, but also like maybe people should have the right in certain circumstances. If, for example, you have a degenerative brain condition like Ikari and are prone to slaughtering entire cities of people when you lose your cool, yeah, maybe it's best that you not around. This is not a situation that anybody in real life has to deal with. But
See for yourself.
right, just turn into Godzilla on your off days. But yeah, like there are times when euthanasia might be the right action. Like Terry Pratchett famously campaigned in his last few years to have the right to medically assisted suicide because he had a severe degenerative brain disease that he was losing himself and he wanted to go with dignity.
I think that part is like, okay, I see the argument in that, but the one thing is like I could talk you into killing yourself. It's like that's where I pause.
Hmm.
Well,
I
I mean, I don't think that Mappo is like super excited about it either. He's like just thinking about how to solve the I'm best friends with the Doomsday Weapon problem.
yeah. And like it is true that Ikariam probably would if he knew what was going on.
Hmm.
Right? Like we know that he would have let himself be taken by the Azath in Deadhouse Gates, and he tried to let himself get taken by the Azath, but Mappa didn't let him.
Right. But isn't he in the finest now?
Nope.
Aquarium?
No, he's been captured by the Assail, Sister Calm specifically, who
Oh, I
staked him to
thought
the
he
ground and
was
just like let him
in
bleed out a bit.
Erastus's eye. That was the finest.
The
No,
Finniss
he
turned
used
into an
yeah,
Azath.
yeah. He used the power of
Oh,
Orestes' eye to make an Azathos where the Kachain Naruk were coming out.
okay, okay. Now this
Yeah.
makes more sense.
That Sand Grub came out. Um, I really enjoyed that section mostly because I really like Mappo and I think the tension there between his relationship with Ikariam, while it's been explored since Deadhouse Gates, it really hasn't been done much, and that's his central conflict and something that he dealt with in Deadhouse Gates, maybe poorly, maybe well, but I'm all pro friendship, and I'm like maybe you can make it work some way. But I really
And
liked it, and is this the section where he meets Bidal and they're like, "You
yes,
are abandoning us for your friend who's also a child," and that's also extra tension where he hates himself for ignoring these other children who are suffering, and Tool's children. It's just very emotional, and if you love Mappo, it's a joy to read or torture to read.
and I think there are like 2 points that add interesting nuance here. Is like one, Badal saved him rather than the other way around in the previous chapters, and also he realizes that this city Icarius is what Icarian was trying to find throughout all their journeys, and he had no idea about this. Like if Icarian had found the city, he would have remembered himself maybe.
Yep,
Mm.
Um, so
just like a punch in the gut.
yep,
Poor Mappo, man. He's just
he's such
he's
a horrible time.
like he's up there with Talk for like most tortured souls.
Talk and Fellison and Sin, yeah.
17?
Yeah, let's go to chapter 17. Chapter 17. The Bone Hunters give the last of their water to the children. Mutiny begins to arise in the ranks. Hellion reveals the origin of her hatred of spiders. Sadik and Badal remember what toys are.
There is a line in this chapter early on. It says, "Because when things fail, you topple the statues." To me, that was like a very powerful statement. It's very simple, but it's very powerful because immediately I have like images in my head of statues getting toppled,
Mhm.
whether it's because, dictatorships or whatever, all these types of things. Yeah, that was very effective.
Yeah, Badal is. I really like her character this time around. Like, she's so wise and insightful while still being a child. And so she always phrases things in like the simplest possible ways. And it's
Mm,
beautiful and often horrible. But
hmm
yeah, like her voice is so great. She's such a great character.
Do you think Erikson prefers Liddell to Fisher?
I do.
Okay, should we address Held?
Yeah. Yeah. What about Held?
So, Held was indeed alive as a baby, but then throughout the whole journey has since passed.
Yeah. And it seems like
And
quite early on, Held was actually dead. But Rut
is
kept
it
holding her.
when is it when Rut was like trying to hush her? Did he accidentally kill her?
Maybe.
Well, we don't really know
Yeah.
when
She said, yeah, at some point she died and he just kept trucking on.
and holding her.
Yep. And his arms are all warped now.
Yeah.
Pretty sad image. Listeners, you can't see it, but Hurin is trying very hard to keep it together.
You might not hear
Heroically.
much of Huron in this chapter.
Okay, Panda. How did you like Hellion's story?
Hellion? Uh,
Hellion's story. What? Did you not like it? Oh, that's so sad.
what was it again?
She like tells this like super dramatic story about
Oh
how in
yeah,
Cartools, like as a kid, the spiders got to her at one point,
right.
and it turns out that's just like a whole lie that she made up because she wanted her soldiers to feel bad for her.
I'm just not a Hellion fan.
Ah, that's so sad.
I'm
She doesn't like
I
spiders. You guys have that in common.
I know, and you would think that that would, you know, brew some camaraderie, but I don't really like her character.
Sad.
She and I would not be friends in real life.
That's probably true.
That's all. Okay, what else in this? This is a hard chapter.
Yeah. I think this is one of the best chapters in the series. Huron agrees. I know he does. He's just um,
So
I
the snake views the adjunct as their mother and Fiddler as their father. But I
mhm.
guess they kind of just call them mother father, like the adults in
Yep.
general.
I really, really, really love how in this section it's not even a question if they're going to give the children the water. Like they don't have a debate. They don't
Yeah.
argue about it. It's just this is the right thing to do. We're doing this.
Okay, I have a question.
Mhm.
Mm, did Blistic witness this?
Presumably,
And to me, it would be like natural where comes out of there and is like, "Where's this water coming from?"
I think that what this does is it's just it's a section where it's like Steve wants to emphasize that there are just things that you do
Yeah.
that are the right things, that are clearly the right things, that even someone like Blistig is not going to speak out against at the moment, right? Like he's
Mm.
not going to come out and smack the water flask out of this dying child's hand.
I guess at that point, like
Yeah,
it was coming out of the rations for those
yeah,
soldiers during that day, but I was kind of expecting Blistic to have voice like, we can't we can't sustain like all these children, you
He
know?
did.
I
did he say
know.
that? He said that
Oh wait,
later.
did he?
I know.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
when the
Oh, okay.
adjunct sent him to get more water for them.
Immediately he said,
Oh yeah. She said, "I will execute you right now if you don't do this."
Ah, okay, okay. I forgot
Yeah.
about that part. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Oh, ignore what I said then.
There you go.
And then we have the section where the Sadik and Vidal remember what toys are. That was really good. So I have two quotes from this one. I really like Tavor's reaction to this. Um, he saw her take on the burden in the settling of her shoulders, recognized the breathtaking courage in the way she lifted her head, the way she refused to look away from the scene of two children trying to remember what it is to play, Adjunct, do not do this. You cannot carry anything more. And like, I think this is like, this shows who Tavor is. Like, what makes her so incredibly exceptional. She's willing to take on. She's willing to take it. She's willing to carry the burden, and obviously she's not going to get any rewards for this. We get Hood saying at one point, like, Tavor's not going to get anything from this. She's just doing the right thing, and like the pain it causes to just like look flatly at something like that and just take it all in. That's real strength there. That's like a real strength in a protagonist. I don't think we see in like almost. I don't think I remember seeing another protagonist like this. It's amazing.
Yeah. I think it's I can't remember which chapter exactly, but it's I think at in these past few chapters it's becoming more about like comparing people to Tavor
Mhm.
versus comparing Tavor to other people. And so that transition I think was really well done where, in previous books we were like, well, she's no Coltane. And the characters in the books are like, well, she's not Whiskey Jack, right? And now you get like you see people cracking,
Mhm.
right? They're all under like, similar situations, similar pressures, and some people just really don't take it well. Sanleth is one example where like she loses it. Um, and there's also Bliss that is just poo. Um, and then I think there was a Cuddle, maybe. Um, there were some like these other characters, oh, Gruntle, for example, right?
Mhm.
Like just losing it. And in my mind, I'm just like, these people can't compare to Tavor. And like she's
Yeah.
now become the new standard. So
And
yeah.
like, I think this hits differently if you've gone through a period in your life where you're really trying to share someone's pain, and like
Mm,
the the toll that it takes on you is it's incredible. It's like you can get um like severely traumatized secondhand through someone just by sharing their trying to understand what they've been through. And like that makes this like what Four does so much more impressive to me because she can take it all. And you can see the toll it takes on her, but
yeah,
she's refusing to look away. She's refusing to pretend that these things aren't problems, that and she's keeping herself together for all of them. She's walking at the head of the column. She's not showing weakness because if she shows weakness, the army falls apart.
right.
But as long as she can keep herself together, they're going to keep marching, and that's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good character writing.
She
Um,
becomes the mother that she never thought
yeah,
she'd be.
and like this is like yeah, it's like a very female strength. It seems right. Like it's not like she's repressing her emotions. Like she's feeling them. Um, she's just refusing to take it out on others, and um, she wants to take care of people. She has the strong instinct to
Yeah.
kind of nurture them. It
In a
seems.
way, she has her own chains. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So, like,
And
Baroque Soft Voice, which, what a name. Baroque Soft Voice said, the knight is a despiser of chains, but understanding eludes him still. Many are the chains that cut cruel, that enslave with malice. Yet other chains also exist, and these are the ones we each choose to wear, not out of fear or ignorance. These are the noblest of chains honor, virtue, loyalty. Many will approach the house of chains only to falter upon its threshold, for it demands within us strengths rarely used. When suffering awaits, it takes great courage to stride forward, to enter this unrelenting, unforgiving realm. I think that is like one of the most beautiful passages he's ever written in the series.
it's really good. Yeah, like it's like a total recontextualization of what the crippled god represents and what the House of Chains represents. Which, yeah, but and he's been leading up to this the entire series as well. I like the connections you have with others that you take upon willingly that do hurt, but are still worth it.
I like how the Talanamas were like, we're gonna have to lie to the adjunct.
So we got to give them something, even if it's
We
also yeah.
Yeah. and then they do, and then everybody else is like, that was a terrible lie.
They're so bad at lying. And then there's like, no, we're gonna keep going. That's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna keep going until we literally can't anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, this is another part of like why I really like the Bone Hunters, and the Bridge Burners never get a section like this. But like this is, this is like they're so human, and yet like their accomplishments are so amazing and believable to me.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the conversation between was it Ruth and Good and the adjunct, right? Where he's telling her all these things and she's like, "Oh, he told me that my sword will not be enough." And then Ruth and Good's like, "Who told you?" Quick, Ben. Oh my god, and he starts laughing.
God damn it. Yeah. And then I feel so bad for her, just like when someone I think it's Ruth and Good tells her, "Oh, Korobos is free now." She's like, "What?" No.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have anything to say? Or should we move on?
Best chapter in the book.
Okay.
Janath,
Yeah, let's move on
anything?
to chapter
Nothing?
18.
I like I like 20 a lot.
All right. Yeah, we can get to 20 via 18 and 19. Chapter 18. Kalam wakes up. Ganos continues to stymie the hopes of the Pures besieging his army. Picker receives a new mission. Falash's handmaiden makes contact with Assail forces. Draconis leaves Ublala. We learn the history of the Assail versus Kachain Chamal conflict. The Wolves take command of the Greyhelms through Seatalk. Kalava kills Grentel.
So how ballsy is Steven Erikson that he writes a chapter like this where he's written like 10 books of build up. We're like 60 or more % through this book, and he has a chapter in which everything is finally really getting started, and he has the Emperor / Shadow Throne directly comment on this and say like, this is where everything truly begins. After all of this, everything we've been through, he actually puts that line in there, and then it's actually true. Like, it's so insane. And
Yep.
and we're just like, and it's like just a great moment. Like, it actually works.
And he has the perfect response from it to it from
Yep.
Temper.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Shadow Throne's like, this is the only reaction you're gonna give me?
Yeah. Do you have anything to say for posterity?
I want to say that this chapter was really needed after the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just nice to catch up with all of these old faces we haven't seen in a while. Like even Temper, who was only in the Book of the Fallen and Bone Hunters. We get
For, like,
Manala.
a
When was the last time we saw
paragraph.
Manala?
Also
Yeah.
Bone Hunters.
Really? I thought it was
House of Chains.
House
Oh,
of
it might have been
Chains.
House of Chains, yeah.
It's whenever Kalam leaves her.
Hey, husband. We get Kalam back, and you're like, yeah, Kalam.
She's in she is in Bone Hunters.
Oh, yes, she is in Bone Hunters, yes.
Yeah, she's
She
in
doesn't have
Right.
much of a role.
Yeah. She's taking care of all the dying children.
Yes. Yeah, and Temper's near and dear to my heart because I read Knight of Knives. So
I like Temper. And then Paran, and his thing with Notable Boil and him getting one over the Fulcral cell, so satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah.
This is another instance where I'm like, yes, I believe how he beat the Assail here, and this feels satisfying to me, and it doesn't feel like it takes away from their scariness. But something that does feel like it kind of takes away from the scariness is Falash's handmaiden to me, because I don't like, why is she able to resist the voice? I don't get it. It's just because Segula are so cool. They're just immune to it. I don't know. It feels kind of unsatisfying to me.
I have a theory. Okay, this is probably very wrong, but the Segula are so like narcissistic and like internally their whole personality, whole self is just it fills them all up, so it just blocks out the voice.
Yeah.
I have an idea, but it's based on Orb Scepter Throne.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
Oh, okay.
There's actually like real lore justification for this, but you have to read the sequel to Toll the Hounds, which is Orb Scepter Throne.
That would need to be in this series for right, like, I
Does
don't
it
know.
though? I mean, you
No.
just know, hey, Segula, they're different. They could resist it. I think that's fine.
See,
to me.
now I have my own theory, and that's what I think.
I think that's fine too. I mean,
I
we're
respect the
shown that she's
discriminatory.
resistant. You can come up with your own theories, and you could later learn that, like,
But then it kind of raises the question is like, okay, why can't other people resist them, right? Like, if it's just having a strong will, and
They're not
if
egotistical
it's not,
enough.
they're
I
not,
don't know.
yeah. If you have Malik Rel here, it's just, he just kind of shrugs it off. He's like, nah, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Getting back to this book, Ganoes, Paran, and the Forkura sale, that whole conversation I really did like. Um, where he basically told them, like, if you were just more patient, like humans will just destroy ourselves, you know?
Yeah,
Not
Um,
the first time that point's been raised either in relation to the extinction goals.
yeah. And then he finds something that he's gonna be able to exploit.
hmm I really like how he gets to the heart of the matter. The Assail have these high-minded ideals
Yeah.
that they espouse, but at the root of it, they do it because they can.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they
And
think gives them the moral authority. They have the might, and that makes the right.
and they're hypocrites in that
They are
way.
such hypocrites.
Yep.
That's what they don't like about us.
Yeah,
hmm
yep,
exactly.
he really puts it very succinctly on page in those terms, and it made sense. And at the same time, he's like, "Yeah, I see your points, and I got my own ideas on the subject, and you're not entirely wrong, but you're also just assholes."
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this is like the common case with fanatics that exist along these lines IRL, right? Like you can have a coherent philosophy, and also not actually really truly have that be the driving factor. Like they're
Well, it's more about that they see themselves as more exceptions
yeah,
to what they believe, and they just hold everybody else to those standards.
and
But then
and
they somehow make exceptions and,
yeah,
logic. Oh, but we are blah blah blah,
exactly.
so it doesn't apply to us.
And like at the heart of it, they do it because it makes them feel good about themselves,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well,
you
there
have
was
all
this
this.
whole conversation about power trips, basically,
Mhm.
which I had a visceral reaction.
It
No,
feels
it was
familiar, doesn't it?
sorry. It was very well done. It's the in real life like parallels that examples that I can think of that make me very angry.
Yeah. You have all these people that are, the instant someone says something they don't like, just like piranhas, they swarm around so that they can have someone to condemn.
Yeah. I was also thinking of like hunting as a sport now.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that one's a pretty direct
Like
condemnation, right? So why do
you
you do
don't need
this?
to do that
You say it's because you just respect them so much that you're killing them?
to feel
Makes
one
you
with
feel
them.
close? Hmm.
Anyway, story time with
And
Hood. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I appreciate that you have Piran to be like, yeah, those justifications don't fly for me either, but like I don't want to stuff the hunters and make them taxidermy in their own
Right.
taxidermy room. Like
Yeah.
like it's not a solution. It
Exactly.
Oh,
doesn't fly for me either.
I should share a historical tidbit. Um, Shockingly, around the time of the French Revolution, there was an English an English guy. I don't remember his name. He's the one that came up with the idea of overpopulation.
Okay.
Malthus.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So his whole thing was okay. This that there is we can't provide for all these people, and if the poor breed too much and survive too much, then we'll have an overpopulation and everyone's going to die. So we're going to use this as justification to not pass labor laws.
Yes. And I've read the reason I know that is I've read Marx and Engels polemics against this guy. Um,
Yeah,
that's the
and
only
it's
reason I know who he is.
and so it's just like it's just used like as very transparent justification to like hold the status quo of aristocrats exploiting the underclasses, um because we need to save everybody. This it's just the natural way. the,
Mm,
the poor need to starve and die, or else there's going to be too much of them,
Yeah.
and that's even bad for the poor, right? Because they'll be unhappy if too many of them live.
And that's why they can't have wages.
Yeah, that's why they
There's a
can't have wages.
finite a part of the theory was that there's like a finite amount of wages that can be paid
Mhm.
to them. I don't remember. But it's
And also working conditions. It's like we need to have them working 120 hours in our factories.
Yeah, and all the like studies now show the opposite is true. The wealthier you get, the less likely you're gonna have
Yeah,
lots of
yeah.
children.
It's just like a completely idiotic theory that has somehow stuck around.
Yeah.
I just want to say that there is a case for most hunting.
Hmm?
What?
I just I feel like we were condemning hunting earlier, but I think
Oh, make the
most
case.
hunting is fine. Um, well, hunting, if you're going to eat anyway, there's no reason not to hunt for your food.
Yeah, but they
There
specifically
are
said,
serious. I agree. I mean, big game hunting and just hunting for fun and putting this stuff is there's no. I don't
yeah,
really see any ethical case for that. And there also are serious overpopulation problems for specifically deer or wild boar
That's very true.
in Japan.
And yeah, like the emus in Australia for a bit.
yeah, my specific qualm was the hunting for the fun of it as a sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Traveling to Africa so you can kill a rhinoceros.
Right.
It
Yeah.
There
To be
isn't
clear,
anything really
oh,
morally justifiable in that case. I
Yeah.
can't
I
think of
think
any at least.
that
especially if they're endangered.
planned hunting for the public good is definitely not the I doubt Ganois would be against that, right?
Yeah, I mean
Or
they
Joel
specifically
Gilman,
said, there's like a difference.
And for the record, I don't think you were making that case. I just wanted to cover our ass for our
I
listeners.
think
Sure.
that's a very good thing to bring up here. Thank you.
Now story time with Hood.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm happy to see Picker and Blend in their little relationship again. It was nice and cozy. But go ahead. And Tufty.
And Tufty.
The
Dead
cat.
cats.
He was walking around now. I presume because of events in Orb Scepter Throne.
Oh, did they give him the dead cat no Scepter Throne?
No, they give him the dead cat and told the hounds, but it's just a dead cat at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, um, so story time with Hood. So Panda's the one that always gets to connect, like Britney Spears and Fast and the Furious and whatever else to Malazan.
Transformers.
But I finally found one. My trashy sci-fi action show that I want to connect to this. The Dead. I've always noticed, at least on this rewatch of Torchwood, that the dead in Torchwood act exactly like the dead in Malazan. They're all miserable. They don't want to go back. They have a very cynical view of the world around them, and it's finally revealed that it's for the same exact reasons that it is in Torchwood, which is that there is no paradise. And that's during the story time with Hood. Is
Mhm.
that like they see what's I mean, the afterlife is different in Torchwood and Doctor Who than it is in Malazan, but um it's even grimmer in Torchwood and Doctor Who actually. But the reasons the dead act the way they do when they come back is the same. And I thought that was cool.
Mhm.
Hey, the undead Jaghut are the jolliest bunch of guys and girls you'll ever meet.
Oh yeah, they're an exception, but like most of the dead act a certain way in the lesson. Like they're all bemoaning the way they died. They are all like obsessed with death. They're trying to get away from it. They come back to life and they're kind of jaded and miserable.
Hmm.
Exceptions being like how Bryce, the Jackhunt obviously, and then how Bryce acted after Hood died. Uh Things like that. But
Mm.
you know, for the most part, they all kind of act pretty miserable. And Hood finally explains why.
Mhm. Son of Darkness is Rake. Warlord of the Sleeping Goddess is Quickben.
No, that's
No, that's the
Caladan.
Caladan Brood.
Caladan Brood. Okay. Stone Wielder is
Gray
Stone
Mane.
Wielder.
Gray
There's a
Mane.
book named Stone Wielder. Maybe we
Yeah,
should
there's
go on a tangent.
nope. Yeah, just skip right past that, Panda.
okay, and then Lord of Tragedy,
That's
Dassam.
December.
yeah, December.
Dassam. Right. Okay.
Well, Dassam slash December, which isn't exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Complicated.
Okay.
Well, at one point, Shadow Throne meets December, and he's like, "I prefer your other version that kind of broke off and is
Yeah.
Oh,
wandering the
right,
moral
right.
realm."
That is the part of these books that I am most confused by.
What the Dassam December thing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's actually pretty simple. Dassam, various people are trying to raise him to godhood, right? He himself resists this. The part that is left behind is so he splits into two essentially. So there's Dasamulto, who's just doing his revenge thing, and then there's Decembre, who is the god that was raised. You know.
So does that mean that Gessler and Stormy are going to end up in the same boat?
Yeah, maybe.
Are
Yeah,
people
and like
worshiping Gessler and Stormy though?
Oh, I guess because they're just ascending, not becoming gods. It's different.
um, this is probably something that would happen to the gods if they refused their worshippers strongly enough, right? Like if Male did that, then he would like split into two aspects probably.
Oh, speaking of which, this is the thing I just said is alluded to in Storytime with Hood. In this scene with Shirk and Hood that we started on, she's like, "Oh, and are they gods about somebody?" And he's like, "Well, they're ascendants. All of this stuff is really complex."
Yeah.
Is he talking about Shadow Throne? Is that what it was?
I don't remember.
No,
Okay.
Shadow Throne's a god.
Seeking knowledge. Da, da, da. No, no, no. They were talking about
Yeah.
Calendar and Dancer.
Hmm.
So Shirk says two new gods. They came to you? Not at first. Instead, they sought out loyal allies. Yeah, this is why I really like this story, is because like
Hmm.
we just got a little. Because you guys had asked me like, when do you think Shadow Throne and Cotillion like plan out this whole thing, right? And I was like, I don't think.
I thought of that conversation when I read this.
Yeah, I don't think at the beginning like this was the plan. They just kind of fell into it, and
Mhm.
It
they're
makes a
like,
lot of sense, given how Cam writes them falling into it. Because otherwise I'm like, there's no way these like renegade mercenary losers like had this ambitious of a plan from the beginning. Like
I really like how the yeah, like probably gods like Hood knew something was not right with the crippled god situation, but it took these, ambitious newcomers who didn't know any better, basically, who were like had the audacity to think they could change things to come and like actually start moving the needle, right?
yeah,
yeah, and it's because once they figured it out, they were still human enough to be mad about it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
But,
Yep.
like, the thing is that, like, Hood and Rake, them going along with the chainings in the first place, like, really just, like, is like a there's a disconnect for me. Like, I don't see any version of Hood and Rake that I've ever seen on the page in any flashback or any prequel or anything wanting to go along with the chaining of the
I
crippled
can
god.
see Kark Animander going along with the chainings.
For what? But what would be the justification for him?
It's just like it's something that needs to happen. He
It's
might not have seen another
practicality.
way.
If
Yeah.
anything, dude's practical.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Like it's the same impulse that same sort of impulse that led him to decapitate those people or whatever in Memories of Ice, when Whiskey Jack is the women of the dead seed.
Okay, then why not kill the crippled god?
So I think that's probably like an evolution. The killing of them represents like an evolution of his thinking, right? Like so the when he took the blood of the Elaint, I think that's the type of Animander that does the chaining, right? Because modern day Animander would not become a soul taken dragon. It doesn't seem like it, and we learn from these chapters that him and Silchus together did like horrible genocide on their own people to force them into alignment, to chain them to his will, as it were. So I could see that Animander doing it.
Hood is Hood is the kind of guy that was so angry at the injustice of death that he waged a war against it.
Yeah, that is hard. That is harder to figure out. I think it's probably just as the god of death, his personality was influenced sufficiently that he's not the same person as he was when he started the war, or the same person as he is like present day, right now.
Mm,
We also still don't really quite know what went down with him and Dassem and his daughter.
Yeah,
We've got conflicting reports, and it upset Dassem enough to like call him out.
we get a conversation between Hood and Shirk about whether or not Tavor knows she killed Felison, and
rough.
hmm
I
it
think it's very clear that no, Tavor just really doesn't know.
yeah, and yet there's like this. Hood says it's unconsciously on some level she might know. And
Right.
I think that that's kind of mirrored with something that Sandalath says when she's begging to see Orphantal, who, as we know, is dead.
Right.
Yeah,
When
I
did
think
he die?
they both know.
He was killed by Calor in Toll of Hounds, right?
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Okay. What's next?
We could probably talk about the Assail Chimal conflict a bit. I like how that's put. The Assail kind of lobotomized their god and used it as a weapon. Him as a weapon, and now he's a shattered being in a glass desert.
That wasn't very nice.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice to them at all.
Yeah, the
Who
whole thing
exactly
of
this god is a matter of some debate.
the whole thing about how like they judge their god to be not
Mhm.
worthy or whatever. That's such a that's so obnoxious.
But we've been doing it in the series too, right? Like, all of these guys are like, these guys are idiots, right? And some of them are
Yeah.
getting killed by the mortals, right? Like Poliel.
Yeah.
So, but yes, they are totally full of it.
Okay.
And they're just like exterminating everything that they could, and then they ran into like the species that wasn't just taking it lying down, the Chamal, and yeah, they just turn
I
on their own
think
god.
I think it's interesting that it's not the Jamal that bring them down or any other external force, but they just like find their own history to be wanting and they go away for a long time. And then at some point later, fanatics take over who are like, no, let's go back to that.
Hmm.
Make Akrast Corveline great again and like
Oh no.
go
Well,
back to the same stuff that like made them like go away and give up on it all in the first place.
they lost access to Akras Corveline, I think, when their god was taken by chaos, and that was the Chamal. But
Right, no, but their actual downfall,
yeah,
it's said
yeah,
somewhere in here that it's
mhm,
just because they like were disgusted by their own
Yeah.
actions.
yeah,
Yeah. And like
And
they had hurt their god so that it was already weakened and yeah.
yeah. And this is the most powerful remnant of the Assail, but it's not the only one left.
Okay.
right. There's a
Um,
book, it's called The Sale. It takes place on a continent called The Sale. Probably a relationship between us.
that's a
Okay.
coincidence.
This is the chapter where we get the whole Ublala speech about how when people have babies, they just disappear, basically.
All they
And
want to
they're
talk about is how
miserable.
cute their babies are. They're actually miserable.
I actually have two friends, two couples, who recently have given birth, and I am going through that phase in my life right now. Yes, you
Yeah,
get
it sucks for your
pictures.
friends. It's kind of like when you're it's a big change. It's kind of like when your friend suddenly meets a girl or a guy, and then you're just like, wow, you changed, man.
You get ghosted.
Um, so as somebody who has done this, the disappearing is like both ways though,
Yeah.
because like the
Yeah,
people who disappear, uh, like from the life of the parent couple are the ones that can't like meet you even part way on like planning around the stuff, like I mean I don't go to bars, I almost never go to concerts anymore, but
Mm,
we never have disposable income or very rarely, especially with this war and the Ukraine inflation stuff. But like we host board game nights. We have
mhm,
friends who are double income, no kids, who come over, play board
mhm,
games with us, drink beer. Like those are the ones that still get to see us, and the ones who can only have fun by being single and miserable at bars or going to concerts or whatever, whatever. Those are the ones that don't get to see us as much, right?
mhm.
Board
So
games are
it's
better
like,
than bars, anyways.
huh?
I agree.
Board
What'd you
games are
say?
better than bars.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I play way
Bars
more of
suck.
them now that I have
I don't know
children
why people like bars.
than when I
You
went to
can
bars because I was single.
you can play board games at bars.
Yeah, it
Or
sounds good.
somewhere that's not a bar.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do that too,
I've
but you
never enjoyed
can
bars.
do both.
There is it is kind of nice to be at a bar like every so often. A dark, dingy bar with
Yeah, I
friends
mean, I
and
still
chat.
occasionally
Yeah.
will enjoy that, and, like, also, we don't go to parties or host them in the same way anymore, like the
Yeah.
kind of parties that you would call a party and not a board game
Mhm.
night. Things like that. So if you can't adapt, I had a lot of friends who were parents before I became a parent. And it's because I like morphed to match them where they were
Mhm.
at. Like I was like, oh, you want me to come over and sit on the floor and sew while you watch a movie half-heartedly because half the time you're being pulled away by your child. I'm there. And
Mhm.
that's how I kept my mom friends, you know? Like if you can't adapt the I mean, I'm sure there are parents that literally drop off the face of the planet too, but a lot of it is like not meeting people halfway and like
Yeah.
compromising like that, you know.
Yeah.
Sadly, my sister and her fiance, they used to come over for working nights all the time, and that ended when they had children.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out with people tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's not us.
Oh,
No,
God. I mean, at the rate we're
you
going
would
through, that's
you would
probably.
come. I mean, I'll make room in my schedule.
I'm yeah. One day, Kieran. One day. Um. Should we talk at all about the wolves?
Commander?
No, not Amander yet. The wolves. The wolves.
The wolves, the wolves,
They
the wolves.
they do agree with Tanakalian's stance. They just call him an idiot and
Well,
banish him. Sort of.
because
Not really.
they recognize that they're
He's
being
like a
used by the
total.
Forkroa Sale.
Yes. Yeah. They're like,
So
we're not going to stand with anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't agree with everything he says. They
No.
agree with re- his like refusal to go along with Krukava, but they're like, you know, you've like put our whole cult into a trap in the process. Like,
They agree with what he said, just not what he's done, or
right.
or who he is.
But they don't take away him being shield animal, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they're wolves, so what do these titles even mean to them? It's kind of unclear.
It's so weird because like a lot of other gods like just force you to be their whatever. They're just like, oh,
Mhm.
you're the Destriant now, or you're the mortal sword or whatever. And Destiny the call to Destiny knows your name, home address, and phone number. And you know, then with Tanakali, they're like, yeah, you can stay Shield Well, you're just a douchebag,
Yeah,
you know.
there's- I like how, um, like right before Talk comes out, he's like, "Oh, you guys are so awful. I'm the best. Since you guys are so awful, I guess I'll have to take on the burden of being the mortal sword, the shield anvil, and the destrian all in one until I can find someone worthy to replace to take on the titles." It's like, man, this guy's head is so far up his ass. It's incredible. It's impressive,
How has he not been executed by his own men at this point? Like that speech right there, like
right?
is
He knows how to lead. You know, he's got intangible qualities about him that just makes people think, "Oh, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about."
I think between him and Blistic, though, I would still take Tanakalian.
oh god.
Absolutely.
He's smarter than Plistic, for sure.
Uh, he's more conniving. Blistic thinks he's smart, but he's just kind of blunt.
Like
Yeah.
people see through Plistic the instant he says anything, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think Blistic is the most insufferable person in this book.
yeah, maybe
He's
More than Malik?
very
in this book.
Oh,
in
in
this
this
book.
book, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
What
I,
Malik the
I
Merciful?
Yeah, Malik Rel, the Merciful.
I won't let you talk against our emperor like that. I might have to call the claw on you. Or sorry, the talon. No, what's his
Oh,
called?
this is the Claw.
Talons are dancers, guys.
Yeah,
No, he has his own.
yeah. What's her face? Like the demon child.
Yeah, whatever. It's not important.
Shall we move on to chapter 19? If we want to
Yes.
finish tonight. Yeah, chapter 19. The Andy arrived to save the Sheikh just as the battle's
Ooh.
ending. Oh boy, Namander comes in just in time to do nothing. Well done, Namander. Fade does all the talking for him. Ollie's is like he stands in the room while Fade talks to Sandaleth to convince her to let go of Solana.
Oh my god.
That is fair, but if he wasn't there, Fade wouldn't be there. If he didn't kill Fayed, this wouldn't happen.
With all killed her.
Yeah.
That's
That's
also
true.
true.
But you know, he intended to do something both times.
Oh, Nimander's gonna be a good leader, guys. Just wait.
He's already proven himself so.
Uh, Pinocchio is a champ for being like, oh yeah, it's really good just this once that Nimander's not here to give this rousing speech because I used to live here. And he's
Oh man.
what a charitable guy.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's
no
like, I don't
kidding.
want to do a coup because I don't want that guy's job, but I'm glad he's not here.
Oh man, it's so funny.
Do I like Demander more after this? Do I like him less? No. He just is.
Like, I would have expected after Toll the Hounds that he would like play a more active role. And he just kind of gets carried along in this book.
That is fair.
Yeah.
I guess he's lending his psychic energy to Yed and Derek.
Well, I mean, that's just been the case since he's been on the page.
Yeah.
Like all victories are due to Spinector just being there.
Um,
I mean, not Spinector, sorry, Nimander.
Demander.
Nimander being in the same realm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Sure.
Oh, wait, they didn't win until the Andy showed up.
Yeah,
Oh,
but not
God.
because of Demander.
And
How do you know?
Okay.
Because of Solana, basically.
like it really bugs me how like the Andy just kind of come in to get like a really easy victory while like the Shake are almost all dead. There's like what 500 of them left.
Wait, it's
Like
not like they did it on purpose.
no, they
You
did.
know,
They didn't. Yeah,
it
I'm not
bugged
saying this
them
is a
too. They knelt to the shake afterwards. Like
yeah
it's not like they didn't want to be there.
for sure, for sure. It's just like it's this is not me getting annoyed at the Andy. This is me getting annoyed at the narrative. And I'm not even saying the narrative is wrong here. I think the message the narrative conveys is good, and the storyline of the Shake in this book is interesting to me, and I think it's earned, and it's. But at the same time, like the Shake have been like fighting and dying for how long? I don't know. They
Yeah.
almost win the battle, and then the Andy come along at the end to just kind of like swoop in. They get the easy kills.
So
Solana is the one that kills the dragons for them.
I remember the moment in Memories of Ice when Akovian does the thing with the Talanimas, and then you're like, oh, frickin' A. It's this moment is not quite like that, but the kind of frustration is similar, where it's like you know that they're coming, right? And yet he wrote it in this way where it's like almost too late.
And uh, to me, it feels very similar to when Animander just like pops up at the end of Memories of Ice to steal the city of Black Coral from the Malazans, right? Without like investing any of his own stuff. And he just kind of just like shows up. It's
Although
just
that moment
it's
was
just,
kind of cool, though.
yeah,
But
for sure.
wait,
So was this.
Yes.
are you talking about when Moon Spawn comes up out of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
water?
Yeah.
And then they manifest Curl Ghislaine in the city.
He threw
Mhm.
Moon Spawn away. That's a pretty big
Like
investment.
it is a sacrifice, yes. But on the page, the suffering and the blood that is spent is the Malazans and the Shake, respectively, right? Like they're the ones who are like fighting tooth and claw for this. And then like at the end, and Andy comes in and is like, yoink.
And to
The only
finish it
thing that
off.
the only thing that kind of like really bugs me is just like Spinnick's speech is like all for like what seems like a 5-minute combat on their part.
Okay, but as that speech is pointed out, uh, despite the fact that what you're saying is true and the moments that we get to experience in real time are like that, they've spent so many of their lives on
Mhm.
like
It's a
liberation
good
struggles
speech.
throughout
It's
the
a really
world.
good
You
speech.
know,
It just
like,
doesn't feel like the conflict at the end justifies the speech, you know? It's just like
oh yeah, that's true.
it's like a fait accompli, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that my main like issue, I guess, with this whole Lightfall Kark thing is it was kind of hard to picture like just the numbers.
Hmm.
Like at what rate were these things happening? Like there's, just kind of vague descriptions of like and people kept dying, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I don't want to get
At what
too
point do you
like
run out?
yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
so how many did you start with? How, quickly
Right.
were people
We know
dying?
how many
And
they ended with,
Right.
and it
yeah,
was like
for
Yeah.
like
they had something
400.
like 10,000. They started with something like 10,000
Uh,
fighters.
Well, we're given kind of a clue when we're given the POV from the Andy side, and like some of the soldiers come through, and he's like, "Okay, look over there. That's X thousand soldiers. How many do the enemy have left?"
Yeah,
Reveals
but
some,
that came
yeah.
like at the end, whereas like everything before that, it was just like, and people kept dying around them, and it's like I get it,
Well,
Mhm.
but
that was
it's
before
also
they even
hard to.
sent in the elite troops.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't think we're disagreeing there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's just like I was thinking the whole thing, not just this particular scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything leading up to it, it was just like hard to picture, like
Yeah.
the death that was happening, I
And I
guess.
think I think part of that was like this intentional blurring to create this like kind of chaotic picture of like what it would
Mm,
actually feel like if you were like one person
mm-hmm,
Mhm.
there and you can't really see the whole picture.
mm.
Um, but yeah, I do share your like when they were like there's 500 left. I didn't remember they started with 10,000. I was like, "Oh, is that a little? Is that a lot? I guess it's a lot. It's not a lot because they're saying it's not a lot." Like you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
didn't
Yeah.
hit.
it's like so emphasized for like the entire time. It's like these are the scrappy underdogs, and there aren't very many of us. So it's like how many of them are there? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like, if this were adapted, like these kinds of scenes are more
Mhm.
adaptable. It does seem like it would be very cinematic. What the scenes that I think would be really hard to adapt are all these like internal monologues and like these
Yes.
like cutaways to these individual POVs. I'm like, how are you going to do that? Like, how are you going to give the same kind of impact without using this kind of storytelling?
Mhm.
You can't. That's adaptation.
Yeah.
Have the action speak for itself a lot more and
Yeah.
use like facial expression and
How would they
tone,
do Mappo? Like,
subtext.
how do you do that?
Yeah, I
Huh?
don't
You just
know.
have him say out loud, "I'm so sad about Akariam. I wish I had Akariam next to me. When
No,
will
you
I
give
find
him a
Akariam
pet
again?"
rock that he talks to. That's what you do.
See, there you go. Pat, you're coming around to my idea. Every character gets a pet rock.
One something that really bothers me in this scene is that like or in this chapter is the scene at the end when Corlat becomes the sister knight uh and like it's just like accepted that this lady who was the only Andy in the in the realm at the time got thrown on the throne and they're like, well now she's queen so she's gonna have her court and you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
welcome because you're her like bastard daughter she doesn't care about. And they're just like, yeah, well, and there's no like nobody like really rails at the injustice of it. Like the ND are all just like, yeah, that's just gonna happen and it's totally fine. And
Mm.
like with all those heartbreaks, and maybe some of their hearts are breaking, but they're not gonna do anything about it. They're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, bye. See you, Corlat. Thanks for all the everything you put into this.
Yeah. I guess it's a real failing on the part of the leader of the NDA, whoever that is. Can someone remind me?
Apparently, it's Sandra Lafta Corlat for some reason now.
Yeah,
And
she sat on the throne first. I can't maneuver her out of it.
so insane to me. Um, uh, but also they call her Sister of Cold Night, which is Nightchill's other
Yes,
name, which is
I
a
did think
weird
about that.
thing for them to do. Uh, why? Why does she have the same name as Nightchill? Does
that's
Nightchill have like a history with the Shake and the Andy or something?
presumably, yeah. We'll see. That's like a Kark follow up.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe
okay,
in
never mind.
book 3 of Kark. I don't know.
Yeah. I really like the scene where Fade is kind of manipulating the Sandalath out of the throne. I thought that was a really well executed scene. It's like something that Namander would never be able to do.
He
Um,
literally did it. He was there. The ghost was with him.
What would be really neat is if they would like stick to their guns on that and just never let her back.
yeah, just like keep her locked in the tower.
I mean, no.
Yeah, that wouldn't be that bad. It's not like it's happened to her before.
I
Yeah,
didn't
she's
mean
used to
that.
it.
I meant just not let her back on the throne. Not never let her out of her closet.
Um,
I agree. I thought that was yes. Like she doesn't want to be there. Like
yeah,
it's not a good position for her.
That's the other thing is she's gonna be miserable being queen. Why are they letting this happen?
Yendar goes out like a bamf. I really, really like when Twilight kneels to her people. That was
Yeah.
really that was quite effective this time, I thought. She's a real parallel to Tavor, of course. She too bleeds for her people, which is neat. I
Yeah.
kind of felt bad for Pulley and Squish at the end.
Well, I I was
Not
okay.
much, but kind of. It's like
Yeah.
and Pithy and Brevity and what's her face? Cheryl? I felt really
Charl.
bad for Cheryl. Charl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sucked.
This did remind me of spoilers for, The Return of the King. The scene where everybody kneels to the hobbits.
Yep.
That I think that would be effective as a visual. Do we ever
Okay.
know Corlat's father?
Yes.
Okay.
Um
Oh.
okay. I think
It's an interesting scene.
that is an
Oh.
interesting yeah.
Is
That's
it
a
in
scene where
this
you
book?
just like no. It's a
You'll
scene where
never
you read
forget
it.
it.
It's the scene where you read it and you're just like, wait, what happened? Did I just
Yeah.
read that? And then you read it again, and it's like, oh my god.
Why did I read that again?
Why did
What book is this in? Is that it?
That's in Fall of Light, I think.
No,
Forge
it's
of
the
Darkness.
end of Forge of Darkness.
Is
Okay.
that Forge of Darkness? Okay.
Oh,
I
it's in a
think.
Kark book.
I
Okay.
immediately no, wait, maybe it is Fall of Light. I don't remember. I immediately started messaging Ash and Hurin after that scene. I
Like,
was
what's
"Stop
going on?
trying
Yeah.
to read. What happened? Just break
Okay.
it down for me."
Okay, I haven't. My other quote for this episode is Jan Derek. Someone's looking at him. I think it's Twilight. See him in the eternity before dawn, when among mortals courage is at its weakest, when fear sinks talons on the threshold and will not let go, when one awakens to such loneliness as to twist a moan from the chest. But then you feel it, breath catching. You feel it. You are not alone. The watch stands guard. Oh, chills. It's so
Yeah.
good.
It is good. It is good. I cried.
Chapter 20.
Let's go to chapter 20. Yeah.
Before we get there, sorry,
Nope.
one question. So, Sedek, is he the author of Book of the Fallen? Or like one of the authors? Because I'm thinking that there's not just one author of this book.
We will log that for later discussion.
Whole case.
I'm making a stupid face.
Hi, stupid face.
No, remember it was confirmed at the beginning of the book. It's Fisher Keltath.
Of course.
Uh-huh. This whole thing can't be written by one person. That's what I think.
Sadek does it does seem like he has a perfect memory for things that he doesn't repress. Chapter 20. Adjunct Tavor brings water to the desert as the bone hunters lose the last of their strength. Okay. Tell me, Panda. Oh, go ahead.
The fist fight between Kindly and Blistig was the best part.
They just got
I love that. Two old men with no strength trying to pound each other into the dirt, and they can't do anything. It was funny and kind of sad.
Yeah.
And
it's so pathetic.
it had such a great tone, and
Yep.
it was good to read. And he was like, "Yeah, go Kindly," and I don't know. It's just how I imagine like two geriatric men would fight each other that have like no power whatsoever.
Like if you're, yeah, fighting is tiring, like super tiring itself. Like if people who haven't fought or haven't practiced fighting, like you have no idea how tiring it makes you, like almost immediately. And like these guys have been traveling through a desert for weeks without water, so I can only imagine how much strength it took for them to actually just like land multiple blows on each other in the first place.
And so interestingly, before Kindly goes to confront Blistig, he's chastising the Marines for wanting to
kill him.
To kill him, and then what changes his mind?
Well, he doesn't want to kill Blistig.
Well, right, but
he just wants to beat him
he
up.
doesn't. I don't think until he hears the news. I don't think he wanted to fist fight him either until he heard the news that Forrest had been stabbed.
I think what it is the philosophy of you don't fight where your underlings can see you, because that's bad for discipline.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
I don't think he was going to fight him though until he heard that.
I agree. Yeah. Which leads me to my question. Panda,
Mm-hmm.
did you feel anything when Pores got stabbed?
Mm,
Ah, you monster.
Oh my
Ah,
god.
I I was taken by surprise. Um, I didn't cry, but I was not
I
like
didn't either.
it wasn't that I didn't feel anything, it's just that it didn't hit me as hard.
okay, yeah, I'm not saying like anyone's like weeping for pores here. It's just like I'm just curious. You haven't cared for pores. If like you're like experienced a tiny bit of sadness or shock or
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
think like
okay,
ultimately
anchor.
he like, I don't dislike him as much as I did before. Um,
Excellent. I'll take it.
okay.
I was pretty gut wrenched, but no, I didn't shed any tears. And I also was shocked. Even again, that Ballistic did it so nonchalantly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
He's just like, "Okay, I've got something to talk to you about," and like Force is like, "Oh, just going about my business," and then he's stabbed.
yeah.
Yep.
And like the only reason he didn't totally die is because of how he was
He
in
was so
motion.
weak.
Because he was well, no, because he was in motion.
Yeah.
Because the knife missed.
Yeah, because he was so weak, his legs buckled and then he fell and then the knife missed the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
And
I said, I didn't.
it was just very fierce and sudden. What were you gonna
yeah,
say, Kieran?
So I'm a big Pores fan, and I didn't shed a tear. I was just shocked and sad. But more than anything, I felt bad for Kindly. I was like, oh
Oh,
man,
really?
poor Kindly's gonna take this bad.
I felt bad for Porus because like he's been working so hard, doing his little quartermaster thing, trying to keep the army together from the supply side, and I just God, he
and
must
then
be
he
so
fired
tired.
himself and
And why did he go up in the wagon, right? He went up in the wagon because there might be a child in there,
Yeah.
ultimately.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
all of his
yeah.
other reasons were for no reason, or like would amount to nothing. So he went in there looking for one of the ribby snake children, and his answer was to be stabbed by
Stabbed.
his superior.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, all this was great, and this was fun, and the fist fight and sad, Pores, Kindly emotions, right? You're missing the real heart, and that is Gaul and his wife. I just forgot her name. Giving birth, and all the Ribby's sake, living their toys for them.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah. This is another really good chapter. Chapter 17 and 20 are definitely my favorite of this section. Maybe even of the book for me.
Of the Fallen, or just this book?
Well, chapter 17 is like one of the top in the Book of the Fallen. Chapter 20, it doesn't reach quite that level for me. But like of this book, yeah, it's like probably my second favorite.
So, Panda, did you see this coming with the knife?
I'll be honest with you, I forgot about the knife.
They all did.
We all did because it took us so freaking long to get here.
Hmm.
But um it was I wish it was more satisfying.
Hmm.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's like me, like my headspace. But when I got to that part and I was like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. Like, because you don't really know what's gonna happen with the knife, how she's gonna use it. I thought she was gonna kill herself
Hmm.
um to spill her blood. Um, I did think that the part where the water started coming up out of the ground, that was really cool. I just I honestly don't know what it is, but when I got to that part, I thought to myself, I wish this was more satisfying for me. Like I
Huh.
wish I felt more. I don't think it's necessarily like that scene itself is poorly done, but it took us a really long time to get there. Like I get it drawing it out, so that the reader's experience like mirrors the bone hunters, but
But also,
probably
if it wasn't that drawn out, then to me, it wouldn't have been as satisfying.
yeah, I know. So there's like this balance.
So,
And
are you just wanting the scene itself to be written in like a way that was more affecting then, or
no,
okay?
I think it was I'm ready for whatever the climax is,
Hmm.
right? And
Good news, everyone.
The
That's the next whole part of the book.
yeah,
next 33% of the book.
Yeah,
I think I was
Um,
getting impatient.
that's fair. Been a
Can
long
I
time.
read something?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I might get choked up, but this is when Badal was watching Rut and Rut getting held. Anguish gripped Badal's heart, and she She staggered in sudden weakness. Where is Held? Held is gone. Held was gone long ago, and what Rut carried in his arms was us all that way. He carried us. The mother looked across at this boy, and Badal saw now that she was old, and so too was the father, old enough to be grandparents. She looked at Rut, his empty arms, the ravaged face. She does not understand. How can she? He cannot hurt anyone, not Rut. He carried our hope, but our hope died. But it wasn't his fault, and it wasn't his fault. Mother, if you had been there, if you had seen. And she stepped forward then, that old woman, that mother with her last ever child, this stranger, and gently laid her baby into Rut's waiting arms, a gift beyond measure. And when she settled an arm about his shoulders, drawing him forward so that he could walk with them, her and her husband, and they set out, slowly as it was all she could manage, in the wake of the nearest wagon, and all the conjurel begun to move, but all stood unmoved. Sadek, I will tell you to remember this. These are the conjurel, the giver of gifts. Remember them, won't you? And Rut walk like a king. From where he sat, Sadek watched as they made space on a conjurel wagon for the mother and for Rut and her child that he held, and then set out to catch up with the rest of the army. The man who was the father took the lead yoke at the wagon's head and strained as if he alone could shoulder this burden, because it was no burden. As Sadek well knew, gifts never are.
It's a really good section.
So, I recently was at a friend's house, and no names named, but she revealed to me that her husband acted out at the birth of every one of their children, and like made it about himself and like flipped out, and that Gall not doing that and being talked out of it like hit home harder because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the words speak for themselves, but Rut,
Yeah.
Rut is the king.
Rhett is I really like his position in the narrative. Like we don't really get anything from him. He's almost a little bit like Tavor in that way. We only see him through Badal. He's a he's a really good figure in the story, I think. I like when the adjunct has to give her blood. What does she say? 1 second. 13. And beside her, in a voice that could crush stones, Tavor Puran said, "Haven't you drunk enough?" And then she gives her blood to have this to the soldiers, essentially, so that they can have water.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about metaphors made real, man.
Yeah.
She's so tired. She's walked so far, and she still needs to give more of herself so that her people can live. And she does it. Should we move on to listener questions? Or
yeah. I mean, I guess for me at this point is like, what comes next? That's what I am thinking.
I think you'll like the rest of the book.
I
I
hope so.
imagine Korobus and maybe the Crippled God's
Thesale.
involved.
Who
Maybe.
knows?
Maybe.
We
Okay.
haven't seen Briz in a while. Do we want to talk about any of the vignettes? I suppose we get because we get lots of like small stories from
Oh
a
God.
lot of the major characters' backstories, like Bottle, Smiles, Korik, Cuddle, Korab.
I don't think we have anything
I
new to
enjoy
say about
every
them.
single one.
They're good. They're revisiting old stories for themselves for the most part, I think, right? Like Smiles is thinking back to the death of her sister. Korab is thinking about what led him to become a fanatic.
Bottle was thinking about his grandmother and the charms that she put on the gifts she
The
gave
I'd love.
children.
I want to
Yeah.
meet Bottle's grandmother. Yeah, they're all very good. I think they speak for themselves, basically.
I'm torn
Mhm.
because all of those is what makes this whole thing more drawn out, and it kept like interrupting the momentum to the moment where Tavor, makes her sacrifice and saves them. So I think that might have been like part of my problem as a reader reading this, is that it was very choppy because it was like one POV after another after another. I'm like, okay, but I want to get back to what's happening, with the bone hunters.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just disrupted that momentum. And I think if it were saved, like if those stories were more sprinkled throughout, like earlier,
But
throughout the books.
The
Um,
reason why they are where they are is because, like, they're all on their last legs, and this is, like, what
I
they're
get
thinking of
that.
as they're, like, dying, basically.
I get that, but if it's like also, um, this is like a little novella or a little short story that, is a little, it's separate and I don't have to read them at this time. Because I think what would happen is when I reread this, I'm probably going to skip them, get to the main parts, and then go back. Um, so,
This isn't strictly what you're talking about, but this is kind of why I'm so critical in these sections of things that I don't think are pulling their weight enough, like like Brud Alal. I think if the components of the story that weren't as effective were trimmed down, then these things would hit harder for more people
yeah,
and
and
me.
I get why he does it.
Hmm.
And I think it's a choice that, like, I understand, and Erikson's, like, trying to make these people more relatable, or, like, you are more attached to them, understand their stance better, and I get that. Um, it's just that when I'm more interested in the plot, that becomes more of an obstacle. And, maybe when I reread this, because I'll know what happens later, right? Then maybe I won't have this qualm.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair criticism.
Do we want to go through listener questions?
Let's do it. Let's knock these out.
Okay. Sun Gamer says chapter 17, Quick Ben is just so damn awesome. How is he still mysterious and amazing halfway through book 10? Because
Well,
that's
the
how
answer is
Erikson wants him.
yeah, and he's not one person, he's 12 people. So, we get to know a little bit about some of them, and
Yeah.
the rest get to be entirely mysterious.
Is that when Good's like, "Ben Adelphandelat. Of course, that's why he's been avoiding
Yeah.
me."
Mm-hmm. Was anyone else spooked by Tavor visibly panicking? Is it conveying just how scary the situation is or how tired she is from the march?
Tired for me. Just like when you're that emotionally exhausted and then just like you have another thing hit you and those are
Yeah.
the least fun moments in life.
Anytime you see something unexpected like that from Tavor is something that I cherish in the story.
Mhm.
I especially like the part where Badal goes to reach her hand and Tavor's like,
And
"What
she
are you
she
doing?"
goes away. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you need to open yourself up, mother.
I think so. I wasn't spooked. Um, I was thinking like, yeah, how tired must you be? And that moment, I read it as she couldn't let herself
Mm.
uh feel that moment, because if she did, she would just crumble, and
Yeah.
then all would be lost,
Yep.
I
right?
agree.
So, was Gruntle's death? Oh, we already talked about it. Sorry. Has there ever been a clapback as destructive as Faraday's sword to Blistic? Never knew you were highborn, Blistic. That was
Oh
pretty
god, that whole
satisfying.
thing was so good. Uh,
Yeah.
The other thing in contention is like Kaladin Brood's thing to Kalor is that you never learn.
Mm,
yeah, but at that point we barely knew Callow or Caledon Brood. This time we know Fairness Stewart, we know Blistic, we've been it through everything, and
yeah.
Blistic just given terrible excuse after terrible excuse that's
Um,
not first of all not applicable and just kind of dumb and hypocritical. And
This
so
is
Yeah.
it's
true.
so
so
satisfying getting called out on that.
the first time that we hear that clapback, it's out of context, and what
Yeah.
you're saying is true, but the second time we hear it, we know them pretty well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Not nearly as well as Fairnance Sword and Blistic though.
sure.
I should say that uh, last night actually when Lady Ash read that, she pointed out to me very excitedly, is like, Isn't this amazing? I love this book." So
Nice.
Was that Gardens or Memories of
Gardens,
Ice?
yeah. She's on
Okay.
In
Gardens.
Gardens? Really? She
Yeah.
was amazed by
She
it in
read
Gar
that. Yeah, she's very excited about it.
I liked it
Yeah.
better the second time.
I think I like everything better the second time in this series.
I meant I meant in Memories of Ice.
Oh, okay, when we actually get
Oh,
to see the
okay.
scene that it's referencing.
Next question. We have often seen the trope of immortal, long-lived peoples bemoaning remembering their mortal loved ones. But how did you find the discussion between Scanero and Ruth and Good? Is it retreading well-worn ground, or is it something new? Mm.
Eh, I think retreading's not I suppose if you didn't like it, you would call it retreading on worn ground. But I felt it was, I don't know, it did what it was supposed to for me emotionally, and it makes
Hmm.
sense for everything good. Um, yeah, it's fairly similar to like some of the thoughts we get from Calor, especially.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. But with more
It's just from
likable
Breathing Good,
people.
who's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We like good. Mm.
Good is good.
Cool. What in the Book of the Fallen is so effective at making scenes of nonviolence so awesome? In the crowning moment of awesome sense. This is the second time Dead Smell has had one in this book, and I am curious what makes it so effective. So I think he's talking about like fixing up pores.
Hmm.
I really like that scene, and I really appreciate the Talanomas in that too. And like there was like practicality, there was heart, there was like realistic panic and anxiety from Dead Smell, and there was, you know, still like willing to try. Um, and I think so. My answer to this is because the violence and gore and the darkness in these books are also very, like, it's just a stark
Hmm.
contrast. Um, so that's why these non-violent scenes can be so effective.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
think it's two things: focus on character
Yeah.
and just his prose style. Like his pro. He's got
He's
good prose.
he's a good writer. He's good at writing.
And the use of humor.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes, the use of humor is so important to give people small breaks so that they can be destroyed emotionally more effectively.
Yeah. He
Yes.
kind of takes you like off guard, like because
Hmm.
dark, 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 blah, 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 um, down in the dumps, and then smacks you with like a joke or a line, and it's just such a 180 that you you respond, like you
Yeah.
do get a reaction
Yeah, you don't get desensitized to either.
for the most part.
Yes, that's fair.
C Manu, hopefully I'm saying that right. I don't know. Um, they ask, Malazan has many epic scenes when armies meet, but has some of its most impactful scenes when armies are met. Do you think you could have dealt with the snake to the extent each of you did, better or worse, without the training runs in the Desert of Seven Cities?
I think that the training runs in the Desert of the Seven Cities were good for several reasons. So for the Bone Hunters, having them establish themselves with the desert walk and then kind of conclude on a desert walk is some good narrative resonance and showcases the differences. And also, um, the it's so much worse now, and that kind of contrast is nice as well.
I think they do address this in these chapters is when they did that, in the like for the whirlwind, um, they were given orders and it was more of a purpose. Whereas and I guess I should say that purpose was more militaristic, whereas here it's not militaristic, it's humanitarian.
Uh, I would say it's still militaristic. It's not imperialistic, but that's a
Okay, yeah.
pedantic point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm confused by the question.
It is a little confusing.
Well, I don't know, like, what do they mean by the way I handled the snake, and how is that resonant with the Seven Cities
Would
trek?
you be able to emotionally handle the journeys of the snake and the bone hunters in this if it wasn't for being trained for this kind of thing
Ah,
by the? I think it's what they mean.
Yeah, so like they're talking about the reader being trained as well.
Yes, I
I think
think
that's
I think
primarily what
yeah,
they're talking about. Yeah.
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 Phew. Damn, I don't know. Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. Uh, is it just me, or is Shadow Throne talking to Temper outside the dead house in chapter 18, the Tinkerer and Steve's head talking to the gruffest parts of Cam? It's really, truly, finally beginning is just the sickest thing to say this far into a series,
That's what I
which is,
said.
yeah, which is what you said. Um, Lord of Shadows, End of Edges, I'd say.
End of edges.
I
Yeah, right.
Good
I think
observation. I think it's
yeah.
a nice thought.
I think it's totally something Steve wrote with a twinkle in his eye.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, on
yes.
the just on the previous question, I never gave an answer.
Oh,
I'm gonna
sorry.
say no. I would not have been able to handle it.
Hmm.
I really didn't handle the Chain of Dogs well the first time at all, and stopped reading at the beginning of Memories of Ice because of how much I hated the series after the Chain of Dogs the first time. So
Fair, yeah. Chapter 18 is this One Arm's host fan service and Jagcut lulls a better salve for snake heartaches than a Tay-hole and bug scene like we would have had in Tides or Gale.
I
Not better,
Tail.
but it did work pretty well, and not just the one harm. Oh, it was nice seeing Kalam and Quickbit and all them.
I
A lot,
like
a lot
how
of really good scenes.
yeah. I like how we sort of get a Tay-hole scene in this book. Just one, when Bruce is thinking about the flag that the standard they have to. It's like
Oh,
some
yes.
chickens. Yeah. And that one like feels kind of like nostalgic and far away. It's like when the hobbits talk about how they miss the Shire in the Lord of the Rings. But
Mhm.
I don't think that having Tehol and Bug in this book would fit. So I think it's a much better fit to have the bridge burners here than Tehol and Bug.
But I think they're asking like the impact of having one arm's hosts and the Jaghuts. Did that work better for you?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think yes, because Tehol and Bug would feel discordant in for the tone of this book.
right.
Yeah, but they're specifically asking those scenes worked in Memories or in Midnight Tides. Do those scenes work better than those scenes? Not if we replace them, would they?
Yeah,
Or
maybe. So I think my answer here is I wouldn't say it's better. I would say it's just what Erikson did in chapter 18 is fitting for the context, which is what you guys have said.
yeah.
Um, I do think that I had more of a relief, like laughed more when it was Bug and Tay-hole versus in this instance, it was more just heartfelt, I think.
Hmm.
Mhm.
What does the Battle of Lightfall look like to each of you? I think it's one of the things in the series I find hardest to get a picture of in my head, and we kind of talk about that.
Um, I have a very specific visual cue that I go to for this. If anyone's played Kingdom Hearts, the Realm of Darkness is what I think of when I think of the curled Ghislaine here. There's like a little beach that they have, and
Oh,
that is what I picture in my head when I picture like the setting,
but that's so
slightly
small.
modified. Yeah, so it needs to be bigger, but like that vibe, that aesthetic is what I think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been influenced by Malazan art, and so
Okay,
if you
that's
Is
look
there
pretty
up
damn
Malazan
cool.
art of the first shore?
what's that?
Is there Malazan art of the first shore?
He just
Yeah, I
posted.
just put it. Yeah,
Oh,
Um, that one doesn't fit the beach aesthetic for me enough, but
yeah, same.
Because it's filled with bones?
it's filled with bones. Yeah, and I pictured Lightfall as like a tear rather than this seems to
Yeah.
be like beams of light that are coming down.
Oh, okay.
But it's still good art. Yeah.
Cool. You want to take us out, Aaron?
that concludes this episode. If you want to join the read along and or contribute listener questions, check us out in the Legendarium's Discord. You can find a link on the legendarium.com. Also follow us on Twitter at Green Team Pod for updates and fun times. Check out the Legendarium podcast for Wheel of Time, Cosmere, Lord of the Rings content, and so much more. Thank you to our panelists. You know them. Until next time, bye bye.
Bye bye,
There
people.
aren't that many next times left for this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
well, not much
True.
left. Stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of post song extras.
Oh God.
The Next Generation is one of the lesser Star Trek series
Why would you say that?
because it's true.
You're insane.
Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Strange New Worlds, the original series,
That is a
Prodigy,
terrible
Lower
rank.
Decks, all better. That's not ranking though. I'm just listing ones that are better than TNG.
There's no. You said Enterprise is better than TNG.
Absolutely, easily.
Like half of those episodes are just straight schlock.
Half of them are straight awesome.
TNG begins poorly and ends poorly, but most of it's really good. And when I say begins poorly, I
Enterprise
don't mean the
begins
actual
poorly
beginning.
and ends so much better.
What ends better?
Enterprise. Also,
It just gets
TNG
canceled.
has TNG also has the baggage that is the TNG movies, which all are garbage.
Okay, I
Every
agree
single
with that.
one.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
I think it's an oxymoron, isn't it?
What normal?
Normal miniature painting.
Oh, come on.
With tyranny and the way Segula react to tyranny.
Sure,
Okay.
but like,
There you go.
Nice tease for a Orb Scepter throne.
Have you not
It's
read it
baked-
yet,
it's
Ash?
baked into-
no, I haven't.
It's like the only one he hasn't read, right?
No, it's not. I haven't read Stonewielder either.
Ah.
Yeah, I intend to read Stonewielder. Orb Scepter Throne is the one that's least interesting to me, but
Stonewielder was mentioned in this
Yes.
this section, yeah.
Orb Scepter Throne is like so good.
Yeah, it's
Marine
good.
stuff and Segula stuff and because you don't like Darujistan. That's why.
yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, okay, like as I said, I like Cam as an author very much, and like I intend to read it, and I'm not dreading it. It's just out of all of the novels in the Malazan Empire, it's like the one that has the least interesting hook for me.
I could never have read the novels of the Malazan Empire this way, like because they feed off of because like ones you have now already read have stuff in them that is better if you had read them in order.
Well, when I read Blood and Bone, I had thought it was the sequel to Return of the Crimson Guard, and I thought the Return of the Crimson Guard was the first one.
So
But
Google could solve this.
Well, like I realized like a couple of chapters into Blood and Bone, oh, I missed some stuff. And I was like, screw it. I like this book. I'm gonna keep reading.
You did that to yourself.
This is the book that I bought. Yeah, I don't regret it. I'm totally fine with it. And
Isn't
I
it
think
listed inside like the front cover? Like, hey, these are the
so
other.
it's like, wait, this doesn't seem right. I looked at the front cover. I was like, oh well. Wait, are you talking about Kyle?
Yeah,
Or are you
Kyle.
talking about
Oh, Kyle. Yeah.
Kyle's
The
yes.
guy named Kyle.